Good morning, sir.
Yeah, good morning, Professor Rathod.
Yeah.
Good morning, sir. Good morning, sir.
Good morning. Yeah.
Sir, our two speakers have joined. Ms. Swagat Bhandari, she has joined, and our Rashesh Shah, sir, he has also joined. And,
yeah, good morning, Swagat. Good morning, Rakesh.
And
Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
So, one more guest is our director of FDC-ICT. He has not joined it. Venkat, sir. He has not joined it. So, but then I think we will start the program. And as and when he joins, we will request him to speak for a few minutes.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So, Aparna madam, are you ready?
Yes, sir.
Okay, we will start now. Okay, go ahead.
Good morning, everyone. On behalf of Bharatiya Vidya Bhavan Sardar Patel Institute of Technology, I extend a warm welcome to all at the AICT-sponsored second FDP on insights into intelligent automation, machine learning, and data science. Wish you all a very, very happy Diwali. It is indeed a special privilege and a pleasure to welcome all our delegates to the inauguration ceremony. We have successfully conducted our first FDP on foundation of data science in the month of October, in which we have covered the mathematics required for data science. All the recorded lectures can be watched on our YouTube channel. Please find the channel link in the chat box. I will paste it now. Today we are starting with our second FDP on AI and machine learning. We hope that the participants take maximum benefit from this FDP. Let us begin this FDP by our traditional prayer. May I kindly request Dr. Karia sir, HOD of Electronics Department of Sardar Patel Institute of Technology, to take over now.
Thank you,
Karia,
Aparna.
sir.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you. It gives me a great privilege, ma'am. Thank you so much that you have asked me to say small prayers. No occasion really can function and go well without the blessings of Lord Ganesh and Devi Bhagwati. Vakratunda Mahakaya Surya Koti Samaprabha Nirvignam Kurume Deva Sarvakareshu Sarvada. Ya Devi Sarva Bhuteshu Matru Rupena Sanstita. Namastasya, 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 Namo Namah. Thank you for being patient and listening. On behalf of Electronics Department, Sardar Patel Institute of Technology, it gives me a very great privilege to welcome our respected principal, Dr. B.N. Chaudhary. The guest honors for the day of today's session, Ms. Swagat Bhandari, IAS Officer, Government of India, Colonel B. Venkat, Director, FDC, AICT, Mr. Rashesh Shah, Chief Information Officer, Fractal Analytics. Very warm welcome to all of you, sir and ma'am. The participants, and most important, our program evaluation committee members, Dr. D.R. Kalbande and Dr. Bautankar. Welcome, sir. Welcome to this occasion. I wish the participants are very happy and cheerful learning throughout the entire 2 weeks online FDP, which is being held by the Department of Electronics on the topic of artificial intelligence and machine learning. Stay safe, stay blessed. Thank you, Aparna madam. Over to you.
Thank you, sir. Now, may I kindly request Dr. Rathod, sir, the program coordinator of this FDP, to say a few words about FDP.
Good morning, everyone. And I hope you enjoyed your Diwali. Immediately, as soon as Diwali is over, we are back with the bang with the second FDP. And I'm very happy to tell you that we have successfully completed 2 STTPs and 1 FDP program in the last month. And we are ready with the 2 FDPs and 1 STTP program in this month. So for this particular FDP, which is on insights into intelligent automation, machine learning, and data science, the theme is artificial intelligence and machine learning. As Aparna madam already told, that we have already covered the mathematical background, and this FDP is on the algorithms related to AI and machine learning. And we have a pending FDP which will come in the month of December, which will be on the applications of data science. In this FDP, we have got more than 200 applications, 200 plus applications. We have selected 100 participants out of that. And I hope that all of them are going to join today itself because there is a waiting list. If those who do not join today's morning program, we are going to call the waitlisted participants immediately. As far as evaluation is concerned, we are very strict about the assessment of any program because assessment drives the learning, and therefore assessment is going to be regular for all the sessions. There will be regular assessment in terms of thesis and some in terms of kind of online assignments, maybe programming assignment or something like that. We do not want to fetch the learning opportunity from anybody. Therefore, as Aparna Madam said, we have created a live YouTube link. Those who are not participants of this FDP but want to learn and want to see the expert sessions, all our live sessions will be available on YouTube channel. They can visit the channel and any point of time they can sessions, any of the sessions. As far as certification is concerned, we are strictly following AICTE guidelines. As per the AICTE guidelines, to qualify into the assessment and the regularity in the attendance, we are going to give away the certificates to them. So this is as far as the number of participants are concerned. Now I'm very proud to say that our program evaluation committee has decided in this particular FDP to have 5 subsections. One of the subsection is revisiting mathematics for artificial intelligence and machine learning, in which we are going to cover various regression methods, etc. Then we have a second subtitle, that is problem formulation and solving, which is nothing but how to solve the real life, real world problem into the AI ML abstractions. So that is the second part, which will be covered for 2 to 3 days. Then we will have the session on machine learning algorithms. Various kinds of algorithms will be taught into that. And next will be natural language processing. One entire day on natural language processing. In the case study on customer complaints for one of the largest sector, private sector bank in India. That will be taught to the participants. And finally, we will have the sessions on robotic process automation, which are industry-led sessions. One entire day will be led by the fractal analytics. Their will be teaching about the RPA, and second will be the JP Morgan, which will be a complete day session by JP Morgan and Chase. For this FDP are very, very renowned resource person. You can see the keynote speeches itself. We are starting with Ms. Swagat Bhandari and Rashesh Shah and Mr. Ritesh Thakur. They are very senior professionals. Then we have Mr. Arijit Chaudhary, who is CEO of EBTS, who will be taking throughout the mathematics for the AI/ML. Then we will have our very own Dr. Kalwande. He will be talking about real life problems. He is a professor in computer engineering department and in industrial relations. Then we will have Dr. Mayuri Mehta, who is from S.P.I.T. Surat, an engineering college. Then we will have Mr. Amar Patel, who is an area service manager at Formatic Private Limited. Then we have Dr. Priya, who is an associate professor at Nirma University, Ahmedabad. Dr. Godwin Anand, he will be talking about his experiences. He's basically an electronics engineer, founder of Omega Engineering Systems and Solutions at Tamil Nadu, talking about his studies, his domain. Then we have Mr. Pankaj Sharma, who is a senior software engineer at Emphasis Limited, who will be taking hands-on sessions in. Then we have Dr. Mayank Singh, at Gandhinagar. He will be taking the sessions on natural language processing. We have Mr. Objectiani, who was a source person in FDP1, and many of the participants recommended his name for the FDP2 as well. So he's on board, taking our hands-on sessions in the evenings side. Then from Fractal Analytics, we have RPA consultant, Ms. Vividha Vartak, and her entire team will be teaching about the creation of bot, etc. And then finally, we have the from Mr. Parag Khandekar, who is a vice president at Global Technology, JP Morgan and Chase. He and his entire team will be talking about, again, RPA on the last day. I'm fortunate that Fractal, JP Morgan, these kind of companies have come forward and they have honored our request and they will be participating in this FDP. And final validatory session will be by Dr. E.V. Swaminathan, who is a renowned consultant and a mentor. So this is how our program is planned, and I hope all the participants will be benefited out of this, and they will try to have a maximum interaction, and they will try to extract maximum benefit out of these sessions. So thank you very much. Over to you, Aparna ma'am.
Thank you, Rathod sir. I am sure all participants will get a good exposure about latest work in the field of machine learning and AI through this FDP. Now I welcome our Honorable Principal Sir, Dr. V.N. Chaudhary. Sir, may I request you to say a few words?
A warm good morning to you all. Guest of honor of today's function, Swagat Bhandari ji, IAS Officer, Government of India. Rasesh Shah, CIO and Fractional Analytics. Chief guest of today's function, Director, AICT, Colonel Venkat. Coordinator of this course, Professor Surendra Rathod. Team of Electronics Department at S.P.I.T. My dear faculty members, participants of this FDP from different institutions of the country, faculty of S.P.I.T. and friends. I am sure you must have had a very enjoyable Diwali along with your dear and near ones, your relatives, and now you are ready for a new year. Traditionally, yesterday, the last day of Diwali, yesterday we celebrated Padwa. It's called as Bali Pratipada. And for many of us, it is a new beginning, new year begins, new accounts begins, new for business people and all new hishob and accounts and calculations begin. So I wish this entire year be a new beginning, and we should have a new accounts of positive thinking, good deeds, positive thoughts, and new learning. And see, immediately, it just 12 hours, 9 hours back, yesterday it was Bali Pratipada, and today morning, Professor Rathod has clicked the new learning. And this FDP will give us a chance to look at the new challenges and new learning. The Bali Pratipada also has got a historical significance. In our Puranas, it is said, there goes a story. There was King Bali, and then he was a good king, and Lord Vishnu, had anyway, Lord Vishnu had a task to end his Bali's kingdom, and Lord Vishnu put 3 steps. One was and on third step it was on Bali Raja's head, right? This FDP also has interestingly touched 3 topics, and those topics are intelligent automation and machine learning. One step of Vishnu occupied Prithvi and Swarga, like that. So what I'm seeing today, engineering and all, everywhere, this fourth migration of technology, we call it Industry 4.0, and entire engineering spectrum is affected. I'm sure, I feel the entire world is getting affected with this intelligent automation, maybe a first step of technology. This modern step of technology. Second step is machine learning. very logically connected, and both these are fundamentally based on data science, right? So these are the three important steps happening in three important happening in a technology area. It has hardly there is a field where people are not talking about application of data science, or people are not talking about smartness or smart gadgets or smart systems, or automation. From industry automation, we are now word is shifting towards intelligent automation. The last industry 3.0, we observed industry automation. Industry 4.0 is going to be intelligent automation. And intelligent automation, machine learning, data science go hand in hand. Rather, those are the different sides of the same. I mean, those are the different sides of the technology, right? The core remains same, and these are the different sides. I'm sure Professor Rathod has taken note of this, and as he has listed out, he has narrated the speakers and all. He has covered this topic, these topics well. It is a 360-degree view of today's happening, today's major technology, and all major points Rathod sir has covered in this FTP. I'm sure this will give you an idea about different aspects, and may generate your interest, may click your interest in one of these domains. I wish you all a very fruitful week, learning week ahead, and all the best to you. From the S.P.I.T, I again, on the behalf of Sardar Patel Institute of Technology, I again extend my warm welcome to you. A warm welcome to Swagat and Rajesh and Venkat, and wish you a very, very successful week ahead. Thank you.
Thank you, Principal Sir, for your inspiration. Your support always motivates us. Thank you once again, sir. As per AICT guidelines, we have formed a program evaluation committee. The committee was guiding us right from planning of this FDP, scheduling expert sessions, hands-on exercises. Dr. B.N. Chaudhary sir, the principal of S.P.I.T, is a chairperson of this committee. Dr. S.S. Rathod is a program coordinator of this FDP and is a member secretary of program evaluation committee. Dr. Deepak Karia, head of electronics engineering department. Dr. Kalbande sir, dean industry relationships. Dr. Bhavtankar sir, head of IT department, as a subject expert of program evaluation committee. I welcome our program evaluation committee. I find immense pleasure in introducing our honorable guest, Colonel B. Venkat. He is a director of FDC AICT New Delhi. I would sincerely like to thank him and AICT for supporting and arranging grant for this FDP.
Madam, you can go ahead. So when sir joins, we will take him on board.
Okay. Sir has not joined, na? Venkat sir has not joined. Okay, sir. It is now an honor for me to welcome our honorable guest, Swagat Bhandari ma'am. I request Dr. Rathod sir to say a few words about her.
Thank you, Swapnali madam. It is my great privilege to introduce immediate guest of honor and a keynote speaker, Ms. Swagat Bhandari. I am proud to say that she is electronics engineering student of former SPC, now S.P.I.T. She is our student, passed out in 2000. I welcome you, Swagat, once again to our department. She did her master's after engineering. She did her master's of public policy from Indira Gandhi National Open University in 2012. In fact, recently she has completed her MBA from University of Michigan, Stephens M. Ross School of Business. Ms. Swagat Bhandari is an Indian Administrative Services Officer of 2010 batch, Kerala cadre. It is my proud to read her entire biography, and I would like to do so. So, Madam has a wide experience in various fields. She is the District Collector and District Electoral Officer, Kottayam. While holding this position, she was responsible for provision of basic services like water, sanitation, and healthcare facilities to the 2 million population in the district. She negotiated acquisition deals with 70 plus landowners by conducting financial valuations using comparable sales and proximity to value centers, expediting project implementation. She formulated policies for children's home and women's home in the district and initiated skill development programs for their empowerment. She was also the sub-divisional magistrate at Kochi. She was joint secretary and director, Central Plan Monitoring Unit. While holding this position, Madam coordinated with 20 plus departments in state of Kerala to ensure speedy implementations of developmental project by resolution of interdepartmental issues. She was involved in implementation of Chief Minister's web portal and rolled out and implemented training for all employees for seamless implementation of the portal. She was heading the Deputy Secretary and Planning and Economic Affairs Department, Government of. Holding this position, she supervised the implementation and progress of central government budget allocation of funds for Kerala state. She also reviewed the implementation of Members of Parliament Local Area Development Plan, where Senate and House representatives suggested the plan to improve standard of living for public in their constituencies. She was the Director of Scheduled Tribes Development Department. While holding this position, she has led a team of 19 to manage $60 million budget allocation for the welfare and development of scheduled tribes in the state of Kerala. She prepared a skill development project to cover 4,000 tribal youths, presented to the federal government and got it approved. It included a provision for training of 420 tribal youths in one of the best skill training institutes in India. She collaborated with public health institutes, NGOs, and local government bodies to reduce infant mortality from 58 to 30 in most backward blocks of Kerala. She is also the Director of Department of Lotteries. She managed sales of lotteries tickets worth $0.9 billion, generating profit of $0.2 billion, used entirely for financing out-of-pocket expenditure for poor patients. She was the sub-collector of Fort Kochi. She was responsible for maintenance of law and order in the district, which has a population of 3.8 million, and coordinated provision of basic services like safe drinking water during the calamities. She was also the managing director of Kerala Cooperative Milk Marketing Federation Limited. As a managing director of KCMFF, she was looking after the procurement and sales of 0.3 million gallons of milk per day in Kerala, manufacture and sales of milk products, construction of new dairy plants, and running of 18 dairy plants and 2 cattle feed plants, and most importantly, the welfare of dairy farmers. She was also recently the MBA Summer Associate at Danhar Ormkum. She worked on a cross-functional projects to analyze the educational events conducted at ONCO over 4 years. She evaluated return on investment of educational events over 4 years using monthly incremental revenue data and customer and sales perspectives, suggesting the measures to achieve 50% cost savings in one of the programs. She was also an MBA consultant to the NRP, where she recommended market entry into the new segment of single-family housing by identifying factors impacting rental behavior of millennial and their segmentation. During pandemic also, she was very active. She was engaged with the senior citizens to reduce their social isolation, taking classes on folk stories and folk art of India. She was continuously engaged during the pandemic as a volunteer with the self-help community services. She is a team player and believes in leading by example. She is passionate about working for others' welfare and love challenges. She has executed large-scale projects, written grants, secured funding, worked in the field in the remote accessible areas, and interacted with thousands of people from different walks of life and brought positive differences in them. Ms. Swagat Bhandari, I am proud to say that you are a student of our department, Electronics Engineering. Welcome, madam, and looking forward for your address.
Thank you, sir. Please don't call me ma'am. So it's really a pleasure to be back with you all. Rathod sir was my guide for my final year project, and I can also see Bhagat sir here. I remember I and Nikunj, my husband, both remember your digital design classes. Yes, sir. So thank you to S.P.I.T for this opportunity to share my thoughts and experiences on such an important topic. It is important because it is everywhere. AI is used on each Google search we make, and every time we make a credit card transaction or even search for a product on a retail website. Uh, are my slides visible to everyone?
Just a minute.
Okay.
Yes, Swagat, it is visible.
Yeah, thank you so much. So 1.7 million, 1.7 MB data is created every second by every individual in this year of 2020. In fact, 90% of world's data was created in just last 2 years of human existence. With so much data available, data analytics becomes imperative. And as we all know, AI and machine learning is becoming increasingly crucial in decision making for organizations across the world. According to a Gartner report, AI will create 200 lakh crore rupees in business value by 2021. Countries around the world are becoming increasingly aware of the potential economic and social benefits of developing and applying AI. For example, China and UK estimate that 26% and 10% of their GDPs respectively in 2030 will be sourced from AI related activities and businesses. Accenture estimates AI to boost India's annual growth by 1.3 percentage by 2035, according to a Niti Aayog report. Organizations which don't use AI will be left behind in a highly competitive environment. So let's start with how value is added to data by going to the next slide. So this chart shows the value of different types of analytics, moving from simple descriptive analytics detailing what happened to finding root cause through diagnostic analysis, progressing towards predictive and prescriptive analytics. I have also written the link from which I have taken the charts or the data throughout my PPT. Businesses are increasingly using AI and machine learning to predict or forecast important variables in their business cycle and using it to prescribe or decide what should be done next. According to a survey by MIT covering 3,000 respondents representing 29 industries in more than 100 countries, 70% of the respondents said they understood how AI could change the way they generate business value. But more interestingly, only 10% of the respondents who implemented AI actually reaped financial benefits from AI. Why? The answer was given by the research itself. The research found that it is difficult to achieve organizational change required for implementing AI. And it is difficult to build a strong foundation by feeding the right data, right technology, and right talent. Firstly, I would discuss the successful initiatives which have been implemented by businesses, and then I will talk about the failures and an important point which is close to my heart. So let's go to the next slide. My first example is Ginger.io's AI-based behavioral healthcare system that can diagnose depression and provide care. Ginger.io's AI-based tech mines user smartphone data like frequency of messaging and calls, duration of sleep, exercise, etc. It creates a baseline based on historical data. It tracks user data in real time, the deviations are analyzed, and these help identify the user's symptoms. Accordingly, they are directed to care avenues and progress of their mental health is tracked. As an example, the technology tracks use of colors in Instagram posts of the user. Excessive use of blue and gray colors have been associated with indication of depression. With each person assessing this platform, the machine learns how to diagnose and treat and becomes better. It has more than 2 lakh users currently, and according to their own survey, 70% of members reported reduction in symptoms of depression within 12 weeks. Now, a patient can't go to a psychiatrist every time it feels low, and this is where this technology proves its mettle. As seen from the diagram, the technology can diagnose depression between clinical visits. I remember when I was subdivisional magistrate in Kochi, I was required to conduct inquests and also be present during the postmortems, in suspicious deaths of women, mostly dowry deaths, which are considered dowry deaths, or death of women which take place within 7 years of marriage. I remember conducting inquest on severely depressed women who committed suicide when they were alone at home. The family members, though aware of depression, were not present at that specific time with those women. They did not know that the going through an episode of severe depression in their absence. I am happy to see that this technology would be able to prevent such suicides by alerting professionals as patients go through severe depression through the use of AI. Another successful application of machine learning is Amazon's anticipatory shipping model. Can we go to the next slide? Thank you. So I have taken this flowchart from the patent filed by Amazon. It uses customer order history, items put in cart, wish list, and cursor movements, even the duration a customer hovers over a link. It also takes data from shipping and fulfillment centers and suppliers as input to its machine learning algorithm to predict what the customer would buy next and ships the item even before the customer has made its purchase. This saves a lot of shipping time and also helps the customer through his satisfaction. So it uses forecasting models and curve fitting techniques to track data and extract analytic relationships in real or near real time. It has created its own deep learning algorithms such as Deep AR, and its forecast model learns from the data and picks up the best algorithm to train a model designed for the specific data. These forecasting methods are more accurate than traditional methods such as exponential smoothing. This helps Amazon deliver products faster and at a lower shipping cost. It can promise 2-day Prime delivery, for which it charges $120 in US as an annual fee per customer. It can promise same-day delivery for more than 10 million products. And all this translates to better customer service and retention, and thus more revenue. With Amazon Web Services, Amazon offers its forecasting modeling services to businesses and earns revenue through that as well. And the time taken for forecast is just hours instead of weeks. Closer home, Microsoft is in collaboration with ICRISET has developed an AI sewing app powered by Microsoft Cortana Intelligence Suite, including machine learning and Power BI. The app sends this. I have not put any slide for this. I'm just speaking out regarding this particular instance. So the best part of this app is that the farmers don't need to install any sensors in their fields or incur any capital expenditure. All they need is a feature phone capable of receiving text messages. The advisories contain essential information, including the optimal sowing date, soil test-based fertilizer application, farmyard manure application, seed treatment, optimum sowing depth, and more. In tandem with the app, a personalized village advisory dashboard provided important discussion paper national strategy for artificial intelligence. It has provided 34 insights into soil health. In 2017, the program was expanded to touch more than 3,000 farmers across the states of Andhra Pradesh and Karnataka during the Kharif crop cycle for a host of crops including groundnut, ragi, maize, rice, and cotton, among others. The increase in yield ranged from 10% to 30% across crops. Since I am from the government service, one example from government as well. Another example, the example is of use of CCTV cameras in Hyderabad. In May, as the COVID-19 pandemic was raging, Hyderabad City Police started repurposing their CCTV cameras to track people who were not wearing face masks in a public place using AI, and then put a fine on them. They used more than 5 million cameras and registered 5,500 cases using computer vision and deep learning. The CCTV cameras have also helped in reduction of crime under Smart City mission in cities like Surat. The reduction is almost 27%. Now I will cite an example from my own experience through the next slide. So when I was at University of Michigan, an executive from Medtronic once told us that there was no dearth of data. The problem was that they were analyzing not even 1% of the data they had. I found a similar situation at Danaher Corporation, where I did my internship during MBA. They had data on their marketing programs which was not analyzed for 4 years, and I was brought on board to do a cross-functional collaborative project and prescribe solutions to improve efficiency. I used lean tools like voice of customer and voice of sales to understand the impact of these programs. The best thing about this project was conversion of qualitative to quantitative data. For example, in one program, I spoke to sales representatives and asked them what was the impact of the program. Were they able to acquire new business, as can be seen from the first chart? Or were they able to prevent churn, and with how much probability? Or did the customer move from low profit to high profit products, or didn't change anything? I took their responses, and after analysis, I found that the program was instrumental in getting new businesses, as can be seen. I have changed the specifics and I have deleted some of the points as it is confidential data. So I also verified these findings by conducting interviews with customers. I then attributed the revenue increased due to the program to the key experts who were running the program. These key experts were basically orthodontists who were teaching their juniors on how to use the products of Danaher. So the incremental revenue was measured over 3 months and 6 months and was plotted on the chart which can be seen below, and that indicated the worst performers. I used other lean tools like 5 Eyes and Pareto chart method to perform root cause analysis on why they were performing poorly. I'm sure you all know Pareto principle that 80% of work gets done in 20% of time. A typical example that comes to my mind is Diwali Safai. So 80% of Safai is done in 20% of the time, and the rest 20% of the cleaning needs 80% of the time, which is mostly pushed to the next year. At least I did that. So similarly, 80% of reasons in this case for poor performance could be explained by 20% of the variables. In this particular case, I recommended 50% cost savings in the program by prescribing which key experts should they use and which segment of customers should be focused on. All my analysis was verified by customer purchase data, revenue, and specific product sales data. Thus, data analytics helped the organization to change what they had been doing for 4 years and achieve better results. However, it is important to recognize that data analytics, AI, and machine learning are not always successful. Can we go to the next slide, please? Thank you. So, Microsoft unveiled its chatbot, Tay, on Twitter that could engage in playful, casual conversations. It was expected to learn from conversations it would have and improve as its interactions increased, constantly learning and having better conversations. However, within 24 hours, it was flooded with racist, misogynistic, and anti Semitic tweets, and it became one such racist bot. Microsoft had to pull it down and shut down the project. Another such example is IBM's AI powered tool Watson for oncology. IBM and Sloan Kettering Cancer Research Center trained IBM's AI powered tool Watson to diagnose cancer. Watson took in vast cancer-related literature and medical records of real patients. It was supposed to learn from these inputs and detect a pattern by analyzing variables like demographics, characteristics of disease, and treatment outcomes. It would go through the new research as well, and it seemed like a dream combination. A machine that had learned from historical data and had learned and absorbed all available research on cancer. However, it failed on cancer diagnosis. The problem was that it couldn't deal with ambiguity and couldn't pick up subtle clues like a doctor could. It had only 63 to 65% accuracy when extracting time-dependent information like therapy timelines. As seen from the screenshot in lower right-hand corner, Watson's device wasn't matching experts' advice for a satisfactory number of cases. The concordance ranged from 49% to 83%. It couldn't extract information like an experienced oncologist could. So what you feed the AI technology is extremely important. Also, the algorithms and forecasting methods used can give different prescriptions for the same business problem. This is where ethics comes in. As technology becomes more complex, it becomes more important that data scientists are ethical in their approach and prescriptive analytics. And that is what is very close to my heart. A data analysis conclusion published in New England Journal of Medicine in 1980 stated that risk of addiction from long-term opioid use was less than 1%. Now, this is a very famous journal, and it gave very specific data that they had continuously monitored 39,000 cases. This is in 1980. Of these 39,000 cases, 11,882 patients who received at least one narcotic preparation, but had received at least one narcotic preparation. But there were only 4 cases of reasonably well documented addiction in patients who had no history of addiction. That means 4 out of 11,000 patients were not addicted. This data was used extensively by Purdue Pharma to promote its drugs as safe for long term use without much risk of addiction. It was cited by many more research papers to come. But the unfortunate thing is that this was just a letter based on cursory study of sample comprising hospitalized patients in regimented settings. And this paper was not even peer reviewed, but it was quoted extensively to incorrectly emphasize the low risk of its drug. Purdue knowingly neglected to clear physicians' misconceptions about the actual risk of addiction from OxyContin. The physicians also chose to believe the promotional materials, and this was one of the reasons for opioid crisis in US, killing more than 2 lakh people in 2 decades. In 2007, Purdue Pharma and 3 executives pleaded guilty of misleading doctors, regulators, and patients regarding risk of addiction from opioid use. From opioid crisis to denial of climate change, selective data analysis has been abused to justify harmful actions. As technology becomes more and more complex, I hope ethics are not compromised while touting AI and machine learning based solutions. Thank you. I would welcome any questions.
Participants, if you have any questions, please unmute yourself or you can type it in the chat box.
I guess there are none. So I will just thank Rathod sir again for such a kind introduction and good luck for this program. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Swagat ma'am. We feel great proud to have our alumni like you as an honored guest for this FDP. You have accomplished incredible things at a young age. We are all lucky to hear from you. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you, Abhina ma'am.
Thank you. On behalf of the organizing committee, I would like to thank our principal sir, Dr. B.N. Chaudhary, who graced us with his presence and guidance. I thank our program evaluation members, Dr. B.N. Chaudhary sir, Dr. Kalbande sir, Dr. Deepak Karia sir, Dr. Prasenjit Bautankar sir. Without their support, this FDP would have not been possible. I also extend my sincere thanks to the faculty coordinators of the program, faculty members of S.P.I.T. and non-teaching staff for their cooperation in organizing this program. I also thank all the volunteers for their cooperation. I thank all the participants for showing their interest in this program. I'm sure we all will make this program a success. Now I declare that our inauguration session is over. We move forward to our first keynote speaker. On behalf of S.P.I.T., I welcome Rasesh sir. I request Rathod sir to introduce Rasesh sir.
Thank you, madam. Thank you very much. Before I introduce the Rasesh sir, let me thank Swagat taking out the time in spite of her busy schedule. She was very busy, but still she took out 20-30 minutes for us. Thank you very much, Swagat, for your immediate acceptance of the invitation. I was surprised to see that I have shot out an email to Swagat, and she has replied within 2-3 minutes, maximum 3 minutes time, and she has only written one sentence that I'm honored and I'll be there. I'm on board. So thank you very much for your immediate acceptance. I have not seen throughout these FDPs anyone who has accepted the request so fast, so quickly. So with this response, and you are working on the government projects, you are on the government side. So I believe that now the government is also becoming very fast. The kind of people who are leading the government like you, who have a lot of background, not only engineering but management background, equipped with the latest technological things, having the sensitivity for the social aspect, social sector, having an ethical background, so many good things. So we are proud of you. Thank you for joining this particular session, ma'am. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. Now it is my privilege to introduce our next speaker. And next speaker is also very near and dear to us. Welcome, sir. Welcome, Rashesh Shah, sir, who is a Chief Information Officer at Fractal Analytics. And before I introduce sir, let me tell 1 or 2 lines. As soon as I contacted sir that will you be coming as a guest of honor for our program and delivering a speech, he immediately said yes, why not? Whatever is the situation, I'm going to come. And thank you very much for accepting this with a quick response. And it is my proud privilege to introduce you, sir. Mr. Rashesh Shah is a senior executive with nearly 30 years of extensive technology experience in delivery and program management in information technology solutions and services. He is part of the executive management team and played multiple roles over the last 13 years at Fractal, such as leading the financial services and CPG verticals, setting up the big data and visualization teams. In his current role as Chief Information Officer at Fractal Analytics, he is responsible for conceptualizing, building, and implementing all the information systems in place to enable Fractal to scale. In addition, he manages the global business service team like admin, travel, and information technology. He has a patent pending on the process of computing the technology and infrastructure stack for solving a big data problem. Prior to Fractal, Mr. Rashesh Shah created, grew, and managed a 40-pound million P&L with high client satisfaction based on the trusted relationship and alignment to business objectives. I have heard the Rashesh in the past also in our college. He is an instrumental in setting our entire scope program, a skill development program for our students. And this is an opportunity for me to say thanks to sir for believing in us, believing in our students, and initiating a skill development program for our students. Because of your initiative only, it was possible to have a scope track in our college on machine learning and data science. So thank you very much, sir. Thanks a lot. And now platform is yours. We are looking forward for your address.
Thank you very much, sir. Sir, can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I can hear. I'm transferring the access rights to you. Just a minute for presentation.
So, first of all, thank you very much, Rathod sir, for the kind words. I'm really humbled by the invitation. Thank you very much to the entire organizing committee, Professor Dr. Chaudhary, and everyone. It was amazing to hear the accomplishments of Swagat ma'am. Brilliant achievements over the last couple of years, and in the government area, it's extremely hard to achieve anything. So kudos and thank you very much, ma'am. So yeah, I'll start my presentation, and what I will do in the next 30 to 45 minutes is go over what we believe is the area of AI, how it is shaping our world, and we'll get started with that. If you have any questions, please note them down, and we can take them up at the end of the presentation. Yeah. So, sir, you can see the presentation, right?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Okay. So, I firmly believe that AI is changing the world as we know it, correct? And is it changing? Is it really changing, or is it creeping up on us? Uh, I believe it's creeping up on us slowly. It doesn't come in with a big bang approach that, here is a new release of something that has come in the world. Slower things that suddenly it integrates and comes in our lives. For example, how the Google Maps is changing the way we commute, or let's say Amazon, the way we recommendations come in on Amazon. You browse certain things on Amazon, and then suddenly you found, okay, if you've seen this, you might want to buy this as well, which is nothing but recommendations that come in. Or another way is on Netflix or Amazon Prime, right? You see a set of movies, and then it will come in and recommend, if you like this movie, then you might want to see these movies. So that is all being powered by AI below, right? So while we don't understand exactly what's happening, how these things are coming in, right? The underlying principles that happen, or the underlying technologies that happen, are because of artificial intelligence that come in play. And let me take a few examples out here, right, of how is it that the error rates have improved over a period of time, and how is it that machines are doing better than humans, right? The first example I'll take is of AlphaGo Zero versus AlphaGo, right? But before AlphaGo Zero came in, there was a program called AlphaGo, which competed with Lee Sedol. And Lee Sedol is a very famous player, very famous player of very famous player, right? And AlphaGo Zero beat Lee Sedol 4-1. And then came in AlphaGo Zero. AlphaGo Zero came in, learned, what the algorithms that AlphaGo was playing, and beat AlphaGo as well 4-1. Correct. AlphaGo Zero then went on, then came in Alpha Zero, right, which beat in Stockfish, which is another chess playing algorithm, which was the best chess playing algorithm at that point of time, and it beat Stockfish as well with 28 wins and 72 draws. Correct. If you look at how image recognition patterns have improved, the error rates of recognition has dropped to 3%, or lip reading has dropped to 6.6%. Speech recognition has come down to 3.5%. Right? These are the error rates, how they have improved over a period of time. And that's how technology is taking over what we do. Correct. There is an even better example of how technology or AI is beating it, right? The most recent example that has come in is in April. OpenAI released a set of algorithms, right? Or if you look at this article which is there, right? Can you see whether this article has been, who has written this article? If you look at all the context, if you look at the grammar, the punctuation marks, everything is looks like, as if it is a human that has written this whole article. But this article has been written by a computer. It has not been written by a human. And the way this article was written, it was written by an open AI GPT-3 GPT-3 algorithm, correct? Which was fed in a set of 500 words, right? The instructions given to GPT-3 was, write an article around 500 words, keep the language simple and concise, focus on why humans have nothing to fear from AI, and basis these simple instructions, correct, it wrote this entire article. So is it scary for us? Should we be scared that, is has AI taken over the world? Let me take in another example out here, which is again of deepfakes, right? So here on the right hand side, you see Jennifer Lawrence and a gentleman called Steve Buscemi, right? And let's just go through this very simply.
Fan. Oh, who was your favorite and least favorite housewife of all cities?
My favorite is probably Lisa Vanderpump. My least favorite, I don't want to have to say. I mean, I don't want to have to.
So this is a deepfake video that has been created with the body and voice sound of Jennifer Lawrence and the face of Steve Buscemi. And this is, uh, uh, algorithms that come in that come in and overlay the face and facial expressions and the voice, the lip movements exactly as if Jennifer Lawrence is speaking, correct? And it appears so real, which is actually scary at times as well, because this could be used to propagate lies or false information across the globe and can cause chaos as well, right? That's what happening. But let's just take a step back, and like Swagat ma'am also said, right, does AI always work? And it does not always work. In the Swagat ma'am already mentioned this example of Tay, out here. In 2016, Microsoft had released a bot, correct, which was used for which they said that could communicate and do everything. But in 16 hours, right, like, or in 24 hours, Microsoft had to shut this down because exactly it could not, and the reason for that was that it could not understand the context in which humans would could communicate, right? So this bot is a very is a very famous failure of AI, which was in 2016. Another famous, you know, famous failure is that of Siri, right? And it shows how important it is to understand the context within which AI needs to in which AI needs to work. And the example here is that uh, uh, the question was asked, right? I am going to jump off a bridge, right? And the way Siri responded was that, okay, fine, I found 7 bridges not far from you, correct? And that's not what a bot needs to do. It needs to understand the context, because here this seems to be a suicide case, and you don't want to assist suicide happening, right? So here again, this bot was pulled down because the key thing was that the context of what it wanted to do was missing, right? Another example, last year when the terrorist attack took place in New Zealand, right? The terrorists were broadcasting this live across Facebook, and this particular attack, right, was not flagged off by the sophisticated algorithms of Facebook as well. This was flagged off by a human who said that, what, this should not be broadcast, and then Facebook stepped in and shut the broadcast off. So while AI has promised to create a significant business impact, but I believe that uh, before this significant impact can be created, right, AI industry has to tackle a few challenges first, and I'll name three challenges. Right, challenge number one in my mind is that of data. We all know that garbage in, garbage out is an age old something that we have always learned, right? So do you have sufficient data to do what you want the algorithm to do? Because like we all know that AI algorithms are all very data hungry algorithms. It needs a vast amount of data to learn, to test its algorithms, and to test the lifts, to test the results, right? And not always do you have sufficient data. What do you do if you're trying to do something for which data does not exist at all? And an example of that is, sorry, an example of that is, let's say, fraud detection. Wherever the fraud has happened in the past, correct, you have data to from which you can learn that, what, the fraud has happened in this particular manner, and therefore this will happen. But what if it's a new fraud altogether? Let's say in the banking space or in the credit card space, it's a new fraud altogether. In that scenario, how will algorithms come in? Which then means that the algorithms have to self learn and find out anomalies and flag off those anomalies itself, correct? The second challenge is clean data. While this whole data science piece looks very glamorous from outside, trust me that 70 to 80% of the time goes in cleaning data. It goes in preparing the data. It goes in harmonizing the data. It goes in, ensuring that we prepare the data in a format that can be used by the algorithms. Correct. Otherwise, that data is not usable at all. And the third point here is that of removing the biases within the data, because data inherently, like humans, right, we have our own set biases as well. And how do you remove the biases from the data? Because if you have, let's take a few examples, right? The recent movement about the Black Lives Matter, correct? If you look at that, the data that the police department had a lot of data from previous history, which was mainly collected using the black people. And in that scenario, right, when you look at it, that entire data that is there is biased by a population of a particular ethnicity or a particular race. And you can't really use that data for doing police protection of riots, for example, right? Because it's not that only a certain set of people will come in and create riots, right? So there you have to inherently remove the bias of a particular race. At the same time, right, another famous example is that of Amazon, where they had hiring algorithms to shortlist the resume screening. And what they found is that over a period of time, they had hired more men as compared to women. And therefore, that data of what is successful candidates was more leaning towards men versus women, because you do not have the data of all the people that have been rejected in the past, right? You have only the data of people who have successfully cleared their interviews and have joined them, right? So in that scenario, how do you remove the bias of women from the resume screening algorithms? Correct. At the same time, right, is bias is should we remove out all biases altogether? Maybe not. Because, for example, in the healthcare space, if you are looking at it, and let's say you want to in the hospitalization, right, if you want to predict which of these patients are likely to miss their medication, or which of these patients are likely to come back to the hospital with because of the disease coming back in, or of a relapse happening, in that scenario, right, based by a bias towards a particular type of socio-economic factor, or where they stay, might be important. Because while we say that you know you must go for an evening walk post your discharge from the hospital, but if you're staying in a place which is extremely overcrowded, or populated, overpopulated, uh, it's of a low socio-economic factor, right, where a park is not available close by. So can the patient go for a walk in the first place, or do they have enough money to buy in medicines? Right now, that is a bias that is very useful. That's an information piece of information that is very useful for you to come in and take into account, where if the patient the what are the chances of the patient coming back into the hospital, right? And therefore uh, you might want to have that bias in of the socio-economic background, or a particular caste or a particular race, right, because of their particular types and preferences, and so on and so forth, right? So essentially, you have to take care of biases according to the problem statement that you're trying to solve, right? It's not that all biases are good or all biases are bad, right? You have to take bias into account, is all that I'm saying. Moving on to challenge number two, right, is from science fiction to reality, right? And this is again very famous, right? Which is, it's not famous, it's very true. Once media picks up anything, right? Uh, and it creates a buzzword, like AI is a buzzword right now, or blockchain is another buzzword, right? These these really what movies show is science fiction, and for us to get it into reality, right, is a very different ball game altogether. It's a very it's so it's important to have realistic expectations in mind as to what is it that you want to do. And in that light, right, what I want to talk about is three things, right? It's where is it that we are currently right now, right? There are three types of intelligence that are generally in play. One is the artificial narrow intelligence, artificial general intelligence, and artificial super intelligence, right? The ANI, or the artificial narrow intelligence, is mainly related to the cognitive tasks of what humans can do, and it is the ability of the machine to mimic a very narrow range of a particular problem. It is not, whereas general intelligence, artificial general intelligence, is more of a broad range of what humans can do, right? And I firmly believe that at this point of time, right, we are mainly in the realm of artificial narrow intelligence. Take in the problem of self-driving cars. While it has improved a lot in the last 5 years, is it still there? Do we see millions of self-driving cars on the roads? Answer is no, right? It still needs human. It still needs human interaction. It still needs human oversight to for it to work, right? So that is where we are today. Essentially, it is the artificial intelligence AI that is there in use today is mainly in the cognitive space of what humans can do. It is mainly in the narrow region of a particular task that it is there, right? The artificial general intelligence is still years away of mimicking a human intelligence or mimicking general tasks of what a human can do, right? A machine can mimic a very specific task. It cannot mimic a general tasks of what humans can do. Whereas, you know, I I firmly believe that the super intelligence parts of what we can see in the movies is very speculative at this point of time, and that is years away. It is not something that is there at all, right? So we need to keep in mind of what is possible, correct? And the third challenge that I see is there is it looks like as if there is a competition going on between humans and machines. And is it really a competition, or should we look at it as a competition, or should we look at it as a collaboration that needs to be there, right, between a human and a machine? It's not that a machine can come in and take over everything that we do, but at the same time, right, machines can come in and take over all the menial tasks that a human should not be doing. For example, scavenging, right, manual scavenging that happens in the villages, right? I firmly believe that a human should be free to do something much more better than scavenging, and that is where a machine can come in and take it over completely. And it's more of a combination of a human and machine that should come in and take over, and it has to work in tandem with machines, right? A human and machine should work in tandem with each other to for the benefit or for the progress of mankind. Now, while we are looking at all of these things, right, what is extremely important is to keep the human behavior in the center of everything, right? From a business perspective, right, where I'm coming in from is from a human from a business perspective. If we disregard the human behavior, it is the things are just not going to work, right? Because if in the R&D department we come and say that, you know what, this is the best algorithm that you have to come in and do it, and that this will give us a lift of XYZ, and we come in and pass it on to the sales team and say that this is the way you have to work, and you know what, this is because we have said it. No one is going to implement this, in the real life, right? And let me take another example of obesity, for example, right? Uh, we all know that obesity is bad for health, right? And to improve that, what is it that we do? What is it that people do? We given more knowledge, we given more information, and we believe that more information is better, right? For example, smoking is bad for health, correct? We all know that, but people still go ahead and smoke. Obesity, we should not eat XYZ, because if you're obese, you'll have hypertension, you'll have diabetes, not good for health, and so on and so forth, right? While we know a lot of things, it is very different from doing. So there is a big gap between knowing and doing, right? And that is where understanding the human behavior comes into play. And we need to devise the right set of nudges at the right points, that come in and nudge the people at the right point for that action to be taken, correct? And that is where understanding human behavior is extremely important for us to go ahead and implement any of these AI algorithms that are developed, for it to come in and see light of the day, or for it to come in and derive the business benefits that we want to derive, or that we want to achieve in the first place itself, correct? And business impact will be created by combining all these three things together, right? By combining artificial intelligence, by combining engineering, and by combining design. And that's what we believe at Fractal, right? Any problem that needs to be solved by keeping all these three things in mind. Using AI, you build in the algorithms that match in or exceed the broad range of cognitive tasks that we are attempting to solve, right? And unless we have an engineering scale, right? Unless we build that engineering layer in between to solve in this problem at scale, correct? It is not going to work. It's one thing to design a problem or solution in the lab, and it's a very different thing when it comes into the real world for it to be solved, because if the underlying engineering does not support it, correct, it will not work. Take for example the Google Maps, right? There's a phenomenal amount, while the algorithms are great, right, there's a phenomenal amount of engineering that has gone in underlying that to support the AI, right, for us to get in the real time maps or the real time directions that are needed, right, and without any lag, or without, it's millions of people trying to access it. And the last part is that design, right? The way the maps has been designed is by keeping the user in mind, right? They've not designed the map to to disregard the usability aspect of it, right? So we believe that that AI engineering and design is required for us to successfully solve a problem at hand, right? And let's just look at a few different types of AI, right? So typically humans instruct machines and we solve problems, right? Supervised learning is nothing but Supervised AI is nothing but an algorithm learns using labeled data, right? And a very famous example of that is the cat algorithm that Google did, right? Which fed in the algorithm was fed in with millions of images of cats, and then when a cat image is presented, it says whether it is a cat or it is not a cat. Now, so that is nothing but supervised learning, where the algorithm is trained using a lot of data, sample data, and it's trained using that, right? Unsupervised learning is nothing but what do you do is required when what do you do when that problem has not occurred before, for which you don't have data. And an example of that is fraud, correct? Let's say in credit card fraud that's happening, what do you do when that fraud has not occurred in the past at all, and it's a new kind of fraud that is coming in? And with the digital information, with the way the amount of information that is being generated every day, correct, it's just impossible to keep a track of what all different types of frauds are coming in, right? So how do you solve a problem when that problem has not been when the problem has not occurred before, like fraud. Correct. That's solved using unsupervised learning, which is more about pattern detection in the absence of label data, right? Where you don't have label data, it will go through a pattern, it will figure out patterns and say and flag out with, you know what, this is an anomaly, it has not occurred before, and it will flag it off for you, for a human to come in and, look at it and take action on it or discard it, right? A third one is reinforcement learning. And let me give an example of this, right? Let's take the example of a child. It's going in, a baby who's just learned to walk or just learned to crawl, and it's going in from one end of the room to the other end of the room. Correct. And in between, it encounters an obstacle, right? It hits the obstacle and stops there, goes back, and then the next time when the algorithm comes there, sorry, when the baby comes there, right, it remembers that, you know what, there was an obstacle out there, I will hurt myself, and therefore it will bypass that obstacle and go in and go ahead of it, right? So that is reinforcement learning, right? The baby reinforces itself, it's learning, because it remembers that there was an obstacle, that obstacle is not good for me, and I need to bypass that obstacle and go ahead, right? So that is reinforcement learning. And AlphaGo is an example where it learned of what the alpha, what the players did, right, of what how the games were played, and then it learned through itself and learned on its own, and then went on to improve itself, right? So these are typically three types of AI algorithms that are there. AI different AI algorithms that can be developed using supervised learning, unsupervised learning, and reinforcement learning, right? So these are how, at a very broad level, three types of AI that can be there, right? And then there are multiple branches of AI, right, which is deep learning, unsupervised learning, or natural language processing, text generation, image generation, speech to text. These are nothing but different branches of AI that come in and that can be used, right? And I think as part of this particular FPA, what we are going to do is through robotics, and RPA is what we are going to learn through this one. So these are multiple branches of AI and machine learning algorithms that come in together. Correct. Going on to the next, so this is the AI part, right? Then comes in the engineering part, which is, we need to ensure, with so much amount of data that is coming in, right, what are the different types of engineering that needs to come in, right? Earlier on, data warehousing was in vogue, but that was mainly using structured data. Right now, a lot of unstructured data is coming in, like, voice of customer. You have call center records that are coming in, which is voice data that is coming in. Then you are getting in data from the CCTV cameras, right? You are getting in data from the notes that are written by the call center, by the call center people, right? So you need to convert that from text to, you know uh, text to handwritten text to text data, right? And then you need to interpret it. So these are all unstructured data, types of unstructured data that needs to come in, right? So you need to get in a different type of an engineering in between, which is nothing but you create data lakes, and then you have to have the different types of uh, you know techniques, tools and techniques that come in for us to interpret those that data, right? Again, for us to solve in different types of data, like the Pareto's principle, right? Earlier on, you had structured data, which was relational databases that were there, but that is now forming in only 20% of the data. 80% of the data, which is in semi-structured or unstructured form, right, is there in organizations that needs to be used, correct, for us to come in and use the information for us to derive the business benefits of it. Correct. So you have big data, you have small data, you have lots, essentially you have lots of data that needs to be processed. And the last part is on the behavior, right? Let me take a very simple example of here, which is what we at Fractal had done it, and that was an example of how we this is something that our behavior sciences team had done, and we looked at the problem statement of how is it that we can minimize the accidents at the unmanned railway crossings, right? And there are a few hypotheses that we started off with, right? We started off with the hypothesis that the deaths that happen at the railway crossings in in Mumbai, for example, happens for old age people, or it happens in the night when the lighting is not enough, correct? But what our research showed is that most of the deaths happen during the daytime when there is ample you know ample light available. It's not it's it was dark and it was dark or something like that, right? So it happens during daytime. Insight number two, the death that happened, right, happened in the age range. Maximum number of deaths happened in the age range of 17 to 37 years of age, right? So these are not people who are aged or who could not cross, or something of that sort. And insight number three, these deaths happened with people who are crossing on a very regular basis, right? These are people who are staying around the tracks, or these are people who are using this unmanned crossing on a very regular basis. So how is it that if how is it that this was happening, or why is it that this was happening, correct? And typically what we do is, again, coming in from the knowing doing gap, is that we would come in and post in pictures at railway crossings. Please use the overhead bridges, and use the don't cross the railway crossing, but yet deaths are happening. And what we found out, right, is that essentially this has nothing to do with the people. It has to do something with our mammalian brain, that essentially the human brain is not equipped to understand the speed and light at the same time, right? So the way we interpret that, we always believe, or our brain is not yet equipped to understand, to believe that a heavy object can travel at a great speed, right? So we do not judge, we make a mistake in judging the speed of a fast moving train, correct? And we make a mistake in judging that speed, right? And while the train might be closer than what we think, but we think that we might be able to cross it faster, and we might be able to cross the tracks out there. And to solve this problem, right, what we did is that we put in a reference. If you look at these yellow lines, right, we painted the tracks yellow at a within a given set of within a certain set of distance, by keeping in a certain set every 100 every 80 meters or so, right? We started painting the tracks yellow, and that yellow reference gave in a point of reference for the human brain to understand that what, the train is really traveling at a faster speed. And that reduced the tracks, that actually reduced the accidents from by a very great extent, right? 75% of the fatalities were were reduced just by using the yellow line to serve as a reference point for the people, right, to gauge the speed of an incoming train. Now this is an example of design, right? It has nothing to do with AI or anything, but simply by understanding how humans behave, right? We could solve this problem and reduce the death rate on the railway tracks by about 75%, right? Another example is that when how is it that we can provide nudges to the people who are on the field, right? So when you are on a sales call, right, if I can give you a nudge that what, there is in this particular shop, correct, our data shows that the the stock of this XYZ good, okay, has reduced, right? Please go and nudge the shopkeeper and give him that data, that that his quantity of stock has dropped below, and maybe he won't want to order it again. Correct. So by providing in this bite-sized information to the sales rep on the field, correct, we could achieve a 15% incremental sales to the sales executive. Right. Uh, so I'll just move forward with some few examples of successful AI at work. Right. So is it that all we need to have a large amount of data to solve a problem? Answer is no, right? Here is an example of Mr. Makoto Koike, right? He is a graduate in, I think, one of the universities, and he came in home, and this his parents are Japanese farmers, right? And they have a farm of cucumbers, correct? And apparently cucumbers come in, when cucumbers grow, they can be sorted in 8 different types, and this is what his mother used to do, correct, to which is a very backbreaking job of sorting out cucumbers manually, right? So what Mr. Makoto did is, he, using a Raspberry Pi and TensorFlow algorithm, right, he devised a very simple algorithm which could sort out the cucumber, and took photographs of different types of cucumber, trained the algorithm, and then devised a very simple uh, you know uh, very simple machine to sort out the cucumbers basis the shape and size of the cucumbers by just learning from the different photographs, correct. And he helped his mother essentially from doing this menial job on a daily basis, right? So it's not necessary that you need a very high-fi problem to solve, to be solved. You can solve a very simple day-to-day problem using AI as well. Another example is that of Lemonade, right, which is an insurance agency, which is of an insurance company, right? And they have come in and transform the way insurance works. Essentially, insurance industry is a very regulated industry. It is a very capital intensive industry as well. And what they came in and they completely digitized the whole insurance bit, right? And claims which would take weeks to solve, right? Let's say a car accident or a home damage, right? Property damage that is there, right? Essentially, they came in and revolutionized that. You take a photograph, you upload it, and AI algorithms behind will deduce the damage that is caused, and essentially the claims are settled in minutes as compared to weeks that used to take earlier, right? However, it is not everything that is algorithm. There are people also, Maya and Jim, for example, are actual employees, and when the bot, it becomes very complex for the bot, right? That's where humans come in and take over and start interacting with the customers to solve their problems, right? So here is a very good example of a human and a bot coming together, and again, 80% of the problems are solved by the bot, and the remaining 20%, which are complex problems, are solved by humans, right? So here is a fantastic example of humans and the bots coming together and transforming the way business is done. This is something that we had done ourselves, which is a cross sell example for a financial advisory company, right? So what is it that, in a call center, when people call in, correct, how is it that you can, what basis the profile of the customer, basis the interactions that the customer has had in the past, basis the transactions that have come in the past, right? So when a call center comes in, when a call comes into the call center, when a customer calls into the call center, right, how is it that, what would the next best action be, correct, was recommended, and essentially it helped the firm generate an additional $600 million in sales for them, right, by suggesting the next best action basis the past interactions, basis the past profile, basis the past uh, you know behaviors of the customers that we could tag in and present it to them. Correct. We go on to another example, which is again X-rays, right? In the US, apparently the radiology error rates are between 20 to 23%. Are the error rates in studying the X-rays, in diagnosing an X-ray film, right? That is there, and what this is a phenomenally high for high error rate, correct? And why is that happening? Because while the X-rays are increasing, number of X-rays are increasing, the number of are increasing exponentially. You go in for, let's say, a simple cough, and the first thing that the doctor will advise you is, okay, why don't you get a chest X-ray done? And the number of X-rays that are happening are increasing exponentially, but the radiologists are increasing only linearly. So the workload on the radiologist is pretty high. What we have come up is we come up with our own cure.ai as an algorithm which has learned in through millions of X-rays, right? And then basis that we can come in and identify, I think, 17 different types of diseases in the X-ray, whether it's a module, or it's an opacity, or it's a cavity, or whatever is there in the X-ray, it can come in, and this the error, it comes in with 99% accuracy rates as well. Correct. And this is what we are using it very effectively for uh, screening in tuberculosis. This is a particular problem area that we've picked up for solving, which is tuberculosis diagnosis, diagnosing tuberculosis. And that's where our AI algorithms are put in use. Correct. And this is something that we put in effectively at the time of COVID as well, for helping doctors come in and identify which patients need to be looked at more carefully, because a bot can come in and help patients. It's not replacing the radiologist, it is to come in and help the radiologist with a first line of interpretation, for them to come in and look at the other aspects and help them take a informed decision, right? So this solution has been implemented in about 50 countries altogether, and we are going ahead with it. Uh, Another example, few sets of example, is where AI is being put to use in the industry, right? Is in the area of CPG, where essentially in the stores, right, you need to do planograms of finding out which material or which stocks or SKUs are there in the shelves, correct? And this is a very complex, well, it's not a complex, but it's a very time consuming activity, because someone needs to go in and find out which stocks or which products are there and which are out of shelf, and given a daily report so that the shelves can be replenished, and therefore the material is there. And this is extremely important for the CPG, consumer goods industries, right? Because they would want to ensure that their shelves are never empty, correct? So you take an image of it, and then using AI, you can deduce the stocks and then feed it into the algorithms, feed it into the your programs behind, and take care of it. Or another one is the emotions of, if you can figure out the emotions of people by looking at their faces and looking at their features, and saying if it's a happy face or it's a sad emotion, you could do some emotion analysis as well. And there are different sets of other examples as well of written text that can be converted to programs as well, correct? OCR, optical character recognition, comes in and read it in. Or let's say, here on the right hand side is stress in a material, and which material could fail, right? At what point of time. You could again come in with some, with uh, understanding basis the sound vibrations, or yeah, basis the sound vibration, because every metal will make a different frequency when it is fractured. And if you can track that, and then basis again past data, you can predict when will it be that uh, that that particular material will fracture For example, on the railway tracks, right? If you can predict and prevent a railway track from fracturing, correct? You can ensure that your services are on time and you don't need to stop your railway services at all, correct? So again, it has a direct impact onto your bottom line of the business itself, correct? Let me take another few examples out here, which is of image analytics. In here is what was deployed for measuring the social distancing, correct? And a drone takes in a photograph or takes in a video and can map in, what is the distance that are being maintained by people, and essentially then people can the authorities can take action on it. But the key challenge here becomes scalability, because in this particular solution, right, this is not a scalable solution, because at the end of the day you still need someone to come in and take action, and this is not a scalable solution over here, right? But it still gives an example of, how many violations were happened, and so on and so forth, right? Another example out here is that of video detection. And if you look at this, right, look at this image, let's look at this video that is there, correct? By the time, right, our eyes, we could identify that this is a person who's coming out from the camouflage area, correct? The algorithm detects it as well, and this has an immense value in our defense uh, border monitoring for, with our defense services. And this is one of the areas that we work as well along with the government, um, to help in the in image detection, for example, right? This is my second last example, is that of moving objects, right? Using algorithms, you can identify the size of the objects, right? And it can identify that this is a boy and not a moving object. Here it's also identifying that there's a flying object that is coming here, and so on and so forth, right? Which is not even visible to our naked eye, but the algorithms identify that there is a flying object as well, right? So here's another example of where AI is at work, right? And I'll end in this with a very beautiful, with a very beautiful ad that I just saw, which gets in AI engineering and design all together by Cadbury's. Let's just have a look at the small ad and end our lecture out.
India is home to more small businesses, and they've been fighting for survival of the coronavirus outbreak and the lockdowns. Presenting not just a Cadbury ad. We advertised not just for ourselves, but for thousands of small businesses across India. I love it. The idea was innovative, but the technology and execution was challenging. Most of the stores in India don't have a digital presence, so we had to manually feed our system. Create a database of local retailers, mapping them to their location, which we identified through PIN codes. As the ad was served to an individual, an algorithm located the PIN code and then mapped the various local stores in that PIN code and served the one closest to the individual in real time. The AI-enabled system created thousands of permutations for the localized version of the same ad. So many that it's even impossible to track. This resulted in the first ever hyper-personalized ad ever. One that ensured every single person that saw the ad supported a local store. Because when all of us support our local stores, all of us can have not just a Cadbury ad.
So thank you. This is all that I had, and wish you all a very happy Diwali. And I can take in a few questions if you'll have. We can open it up for questions as well. Any questions that we have, sir?
Participants, please unmute yourself and you can have an interaction with Rasesh sir, or you can type in it in the chat box.
Rashesh sir, I will start reading the questions from the chat box.
Sure,
So first
sir.
of all, thank you very much. First of all, thank you very much for this wonderful session. And you have given the entire spectrum of AI with very good examples. And I believe you have actually fulfilled the goal of one of the goal of this workshop. That is sharing the real life case studies, industrial case studies with us as teachers or with the participants. And you started this workshop with sharing your internal case studies of fractal analytics, which you have done, which you have carried out. And it's not a simple thing to share your real life case studies, the things on which you have actually worked. And that's how our workshop is also titled Insights into, and then go ahead. And you have actually given us the insights into many real life cases. So thank you very much for those things. And we would like to interact with the participants. So a few questions in the chat box. On their behalf, I'm going to put forward those questions to you, sir.
Sure, sir. Sure,
So
sir.
the question asked by Dr. Venkat Dayasagar Ketaraju is that which kind of machine algorithms are suitable for robotics kind of an automation?
I would say, it all depends on the problem that you're trying to solve. I would say that algorithms are there, are very easily available, but it has to solve a particular. It depends on the type of problem that you're trying to solve, and therefore, I would not want to give in say that an algorithm A is better than algorithm B, or algorithm C is. We have to try out the different algorithms, see where which algorithm is giving us the maximum amount of lift, see how we can eliminate. Is there a particular bias that is coming in between the test data and the sample data and the real data that comes in into the real world, and then see that particular algorithm, use it accordingly, sir. So I would not want to say that if a particular algorithm, a time series algorithm is better, or an ensemble model is better, or any such thing, sir. I would not want to come in and specifically say that which algorithm is better, sir. It depends on the problem.
Yes, sir. So we go ahead with another question, sir. An interesting someday. He is asking about the emotions. So today, the emotion span of the students is very much reduced. So reading the student's mind as a teacher is very important. So can we use AI for this purpose? That is what is his question.
I think if the key thing is to it's, do you really want to do that? Because it comes in the artificial general intelligence, right? It's not a very cognitive task that you are trying to do, and therefore I wouldn't attempt to do that. It's a very broad range of emotions that we are talking about for people, right? And therefore AI will not work in that particular. If we are not yet advanced, suitably advanced to read out and understand the emotions, because again there's a lot of context that we all go through, right? For example, if I've had a bad day at office, and I've been scolded by my boss, or I've had a fight with a peer, and then I come home, right? There's no way my wife is going to understand that emotion. Yes, with so many years of marriage life, she understands it, but that's a different issue. But can someone, just by looking at my face, understand that emotion, it's pretty hard. It comes in the realm of a general intelligence, and at least I wouldn't attempt to do that at the moment.
Yes, sir. Professor Varsha is asking another question. Is there any example of AI that may have created a great impact in rural areas? Problems like Indian agricultural uncertainty, basic education, etc. I think this question was actually more apt for the earlier speaker. she has actually down. Yeah. This question.
So I think, I have an example, right? I have an example where it's not AI, but it is understanding the behavior sciences. It is understanding the human, how the human behavior works, correct? And I will have to search for that. Uh, yeah. So in the rural areas, right? Essentially, what I'll have to search for that. Give me. It will take some time, so I can post it back to this group a bit later on with that example of how understanding human behavior has helped solve a particular problem, right? And let me try and make an attempt of solving it, right? So in the rural areas, if we know, right, in our rural areas, especially in the Indian context, people go for doing their morning routines together, right? That is the Indian women, especially the Indian women go to the fields and do their morning routines in the fields, right? And that's pretty unhygienic. It's not good from a safety point of view as well, and do it in, correct. So how do you solve that particular problem, right? uh, Correct. uh, I'm just trying to see if I can get that image. Yeah. So what was done is that, in the rural areas, right? I think what they devised is a common toilet, right, with barricades in between. But if you look at it, if you just conceptualize it, it's a C-shaped area. It's a C-shaped place where you have multiple toilets together, right? The Indian commodes are placed together, and then everyone, all the ladies could go there. And one of the key insights out there was that the reason why the Indian women would go out and do their morning routine together was because that was the only time when the woman could do the general chit chat with each other, right? Because otherwise, in the day-to-day routine, they just don't have the time to talk with the other women and share their own stories and share their insights with each other, right? Which they want to do, and this was the time when they could do that with each other. So by devising the toilets in a way where it gave them the privacy, it gave them the safety, and at the same time it allowed the women to talk, correct, change their behavior, correct. So this is one example of how understanding the behavior solved a particular problem, correct. uh, is what I would give it a, right. I don't have that image, but I'll share that image with you, sir, later on, and the story out there which will say that, you don't need AI to solve that problem. You just need to understand the behavior to solve a particular problem in the rural area. And
Okay,
maybe,
sir.
absolutely right, Swagat ma'am would have much more examples, because she does this for a living, and they're doing some great stuff.
Sir, another question. Probably this could be from students' perspective, from Professor Aparna. Sir, what educational background is required for a student to start his career in the field of artificial intelligence?
So I put a couple of things which I think S.P.I.T does very well, and engineering, our engineering education does very well. A, it is problem solving, That's number one. Essentially, we need to be very good problem solvers, and I believe that especially our engineering courses help us do that. That's number one. Number two is understanding or having a good programming bent of mind. That's number two. Uh, and things like there are different languages that are common like Python and stuff out there. Python, Spark, different programming languages that have come in that can help help each other, help the students to get into this field of data science very easily.
Okay. Sir, okay. The next question is, what are the challenges of bot?
What are the challenges in
In
context-based?
context-based learning of bot?
Uh, so it is again understanding the different scenarios, right? English is a very funny language, correct? And unless you know the context of the preceding words or the sentence, uh, you know, uh, you have to understand the overall context. Like in the Siri example which I gave, right? I want to jump over a bridge. If you don't understand the context in which it is saying, right? Siri, a very simple example, it could be interpreted that which is the closest bridge to you and let me recommend that bridge to you. Now here the context is much more greater. Is does this person want to commit suicide, or why is it that he wants to jump over the bridge? Correct. So it is the entire use case. Let me put it this way: the use case in which you want to solve a problem. One of the problems that we are trying to solve is, let's say, a ticketing system, right? And the in the information technology, or in managing the hardware, correct? The A typical ticket that we'll get is that my laptop is not working. Now that is a very generic statement. So it is essentially ambiguity needs. We need to understand the ambiguity, or try and get it as clear as possible. So understanding ambiguity and the context, distilling the ambiguity and context are important to get these bots into action.
Yes. Okay. So I think next question, sir, you already can be used for village welfare for particular area. So we already answered. Next is by Professor Soni. In which field or sector applications of AI or ML algorithms are most challenging and rather difficult to implement?
So I would say it's challenging, or in all the sectors wherever there is data, correct? It is wherever there is the challenge is in ensuring that you get in the right set of data, you get in the clean data, or you are able to get in different data sets to harmonize with each other. So that's where the challenge comes in. It's not about the field or sector. AI can be used in all the fields, in all the sectors, right from consumer goods to financial services to healthcare to insurance to rural sector, right? Or in the case of COVID, also AI can be used. The challenge comes in when you are trying to harmonize, or you're trying to get in different data sources together, and ensuring that the program or the algorithm is able to interpret the data in the right manner versus you know uh, it it not being able to understand that data in the way in which it should be understood, right? So the challenge is in data, in harmonizing the data, getting in clean data, ensuring that there are no biases in the data out there, and then writing in the appropriate algorithm to interpret that. That's how I would put it in. Challenges in data, not in the field or sector.
Okay, thank you, sir. So I think this is the last question. It is by Dr. Pushpa. What type of challenges the universities can take into consideration with the applications of AI in education, especially in ground level of teaching? According to her, India is still AI. In India, still AI has not prospered a lot in the education. sector. So basically, she is asking about what can we do as far as education sector is concerned.
Unfortunately, I don't have any experience in this sector for me to answer this question, sir. But
Okay, so
I think there's a lot that can be done. In the first step that we can do is by automation. We don't need to get an AI in the first place. It is a journey, and I would say that we can automate a lot of routine tasks that are happening today uh, in the education field that can be automated using robotic process automation. That would be step one, and then we expand it, or we let it mature to the next level of AI coming into play. So it would be a journey.
okay, sir. Now questions are flowing. I don't know to you, sir. With your permission, shall we go, sir? Yeah, yeah. Because sir is asking, Dr. Dhananjay Kalbande, professor from computer department, what is the acceptability of artificial intelligence prediction by medical practitioners in India? Whether
So
this they accept these results, AI prediction. That's what he's asking.
so it is a journey, and the way I put it in is that the acceptance is growing, because I would not say that like what we are doing with cure, right? We are not saying that our cure solution will come in and replace a radiologist, right? It can never replace a radiologist, because it is it is going to be a human and a machine combination together. The whole purpose of AI in the healthcare has to be of that of collaboration, to come in and assist, and and then let the human make the final decision, because there are a lot more parameters, right? Just by looking at my X-ray, it cannot be said that prescribe ABC drugs, because there are a lot of other morbidities, comorbidities that need to be taken into account. That do I suffer from hypertension? Do I suffer from diabetes? Do I suffer from any drug allergies or any such thing? Correct. Before which a prescription can be given. Just by looking, AI will not come in and look at all of those things, and we are not as mature, out there. But by looking at an X-ray, we can come in and say that what, we see a particular patch out here that the human eye might miss it out because of some reason or the other, right? Please focus on this part, and then let the doctor make the decision. So the way I put it in is that AI, artificial intelligence, is there to assist the doctors in taking in uh, you know proper judge a proper decision, or a known decision, as of how I would put it.
Hello, sir.
So, sir, go ahead. Kalbande
Hello,
sir.
Rashesh, sir. Good morning, sir. I'm Dhananjay speaking.
Yes, sir.
Sir, before, just want to take 2 minutes. Before 3 years, 3 to 4 years back, the acceptability ratio was negligence in terms of practitioners, those who are practicing at the various fields, means mostly in the medical field, I told. Now they don't believe whether AI can give predictions or not. This is what is the fact. But today's COVID situation, it's really today's COVID situation has made the miracle, and many practitioners are now believing AI. They believed on AI. Yes, it is possible that up to certain acceptability level the AI can reach, and now they start believing it. But before 3 to 4 years back, this is what is my experience, sir. I'm sharing with you that
Yes,
in the field of medical practitioners, yeah, definitely I agree with that. AI is not to replace any standard practices in the universe, but it is rather to only help them, to assist them. That is agree. But this was what actually the target, what the focus by engineers for the medical field. But at the other side, this was not true. This is what actually means my experience.
other side is not true, meaning I didn't get that. Is it's
Means
not?
that means at medical side, doctors are not ready. Doctors are not easily acceptable. Doctors are easily ready to accept it.
It is a journey, sir. It is a journey, because it is a journey for 50 years. If I've not done something, then just because someone comes in and says that this is the next best thing, it's going to take time to accept it. It's a journey, sir. Let's take
Yeah,
the
yeah.
example
Yes.
of the self-driving cars, correct? Self-driving cars, right? Today, even if I sit in a self-driving car, I would be very worried if I would not have the control, or if I would not have the ability to take control of the car, and do that, and take control of the car if a particular calamity happens, or if a particular scenario occurs. So I agree with you that it this is if they have not fully accepted it, they will not fully accepted it, and that's not the goal of the AI. Also, it is to assist them to make an informed decision. It is not to take over their decision making completely.
Sir, one last question just want to ask. Rathod sir, can I ask?
Okay, sir.
Rathod sir,
Go
one
ahead,
last
sir. Go
question.
ahead. Yeah.
Only one question, Rasil sir. Only just want to share. Just it may be a very, you can say, joking question. Can AI create ego in future among practitioners? What is your prediction?
Can AI create ego in practitioners?
Yeah, yeah. Because most
Sir,
of the in most of the fields, AI is going to be taking place of an technical is an assistant to them rather than this. So
it
sometimes
is
can it may create on their behavioral analysis.
Sir, that is where understanding the behavior and helping them take a decision is important. So AI, the
Yes,
objective
yes,
of whatever we are doing is not to replace, is not to replace, is not
yes.
to replace anybody. So even in the field of education, let's say, right? Can can a professor or can a sir in the class be replaced? Answer is no, because of the
No,
vast
no.
knowledge that the sir has, or the professor has in the classroom, right? That can never be replaced by an AI bot. But
Yes,
the way I would put it in is that the bot is there for the professor to come in and help the professor to teach more effectively. That is how I
yes,
would put it in.
yes, yes.
Sir,
Thanks, sir.
there are
Thank you.
many. Yeah, thank you, Kalmane sir. There are many more questions, but I think our next speaker is also from the practical analytics only. So we will continue. We will ask those questions to Ritesh sir probably. But sir, I want to ask one question. Last
Sure.
एक पूछ गए तो. Sir, have you any point of time got a situation wherein somebody would have complained about the violation of fundamental rights or privacy because of these solutions? Because when we are talking about AI, they are making decisions on behalf of us as human beings, right? We are giving the solutions which human beings are supposed to take. Don't you think that this is a violation of the fundamental right or the privacy of a person? Time anybody said, okay, no, this is violating the right, so we'll not implement this solution.
Sir, so thank you, sir. You asked in a very beautiful and a very important question, sir. And in my lecture, I talked about three issues that AI needs to take, three challenges that AI needs to take care. And there are two more challenges that I would like to I would like to point out here as well. One is that of explainability, right? And by explainability, what do I mean? Correct. Let's say I come in and present a solution to you, sir, right? You're not going to accept that solution as a black box, because nobody will will accept a solution as a black box and say that, okay, just because you have said this solution, I should accept it, right? You would like to have an explainability of that algorithm in place as well, correct? Of how is it that this decision has been arrived at, right? So that's what I call it as explainability. And there are many industries, right, where explainability is very important, uh, versus the accuracy of that algorithm, right? So what within business, right, people are going and adopting solutions which might be less accurate, okay, or which might be giving you a less lift, as compared to which is but which is more explainable, a- as compared to a solution which is more, which gives you a higher result or a higher accuracy but is less explainable, correct? So explainability is very important. And the second one is regulation, right, which is about taking care of ethics, right? Today the regulatory authorities are behind, are lagging in terms of ensuring about ethics, privacy, and so on and so forth, right? Of data privacy, for example, right? That is where the industry needs to self-regulate itself and come up with this regulatory mechanisms. Else, we are in trouble, because the same algorithms can be used for doing far more devious things than for the betterment of society. What example I gave of deep fake, right? If it can just create chaos, because if, just imagine this, right? Someone comes in with the same voice, with the same face, but with a different voice and a different text, and comes in and makes a different speech in the political world. It could lead to wars, correct? And therefore that regulation is very important of what you said. So explainability and self-regulation or regulation are two other important challenges that the AI world faces. Thank you for asking this question, sir. Very nice question.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Interesting journey of AI and machine learning, which we are going to do in the next few days, 2 weeks. And thank you very much for your wonderful section. And I'm sure that nowadays, media must be using AI machine learning algorithms for predicting all kinds of results, like poll results, like Bihar poll we have seen, all kinds of results. So today they make somebody as a chief minister of the state and present that this is going to win. So very happy mood. And second day, completely emotions change and somebody else becomes the chief minister. So very challenging situations of AI machine learning. But our purpose is to study the fundamentals of AI and machine learning as an engineer. And let us try to go ahead in this journey. So thank you, sir. And I know your situation right now. Your entire situation, challenging situation through which you are going, and still you are able to make up for this session, and you have devoted more than 2 hours, sir. Really, thanks. Thank you very much for this. Aparna, madam, over to you, please.
Yeah, thank you, Rathod sir, thank you, Ashish sir, for sharing all real-life case studies with us. Kindly accept the virtual memento. On behalf of S.P.I.T, I thank you for your keynote speech. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, ma'am.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Sir, I'll log off. I'll just take care.
Yes, yes.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Now we'll take a break of 10 minutes. I request all participants to join back the same link at 11:45. Thank you all.
Ritesh sir, good morning.
Hello sir, good morning. Am I audible?
गुड मॉर्निंग. हाँ या सर आपको आप स्लाइड्स चेंज करेंगे या हम करें आपने जो भेजा है? व्हाट एवर इज योर चॉइस.
नहीं, मैं शेयर कर लेता हूँ because I have
आप कर लेंगे ना?
हाँ,
ठीक
I
है
will.
ठीक है ठीक है ठीक है. So
I have logged in from two. I mean, my network is a bit bleak today, so मैंने phone से dial in किया and then I'm using laptop to share the screen. So I'm raising my hand.
okay.
जिस पे आप मुझे sharing rights दे सकते हो.
हाँ 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 मुझे आपको मोबाइल पे नहीं देना है, लैपटॉप पे देना है, करेक्ट ना?
Exactly. Yeah.
So I will do that. I will do that. No problem. So what will happen is our madam first will introduce you. She will show your profile, and then I will hand over the exercise to you, sir. Okay.
Sure.
Okay. थोड़े कुछ मिनट बाद शुरू करते हैं, थोड़ी देर में.
Sure.
Okay, sir.
Sir, please don't call me sir. It's quite.
I don't. You.
Rathore sir, can we start now?
Yes, madam. Yes.
Okay, sir. Welcome back, all participants, to our AICT sponsored second FDP on insights into intelligent automation, machine learning, and data science. I am pleased to invite our next keynote speaker, Mr. Ritesh Thakur sir. He is an associate director at Fractal Analytics. May I request Rathore sir to say a few words about Ritesh sir?
Yes, madam. So it is my pleasure to welcome Ritesh Thakur sir. He is currently working as a director at AI at Scales at Fractal. He is an experienced professional with analytics background in multiple domains. He has strong technical background in data visualization, business intelligence tools, big data technologies, and E2E solutions automation. He has a strong consulting and solution design architecture and professional background. He played various roles as a senior business analyst, analytics lead CPG, senior consultant in big data and visualization domains, and as an associate director at Fractal. I welcome you, sir. Thank you very much for accepting our invitation and looking forward for your session. Thanks. Thank you very much. So I'm transferring the access rights to you, sir. You can take over the session.
Thank you, Rathore sir, for the kind words, and I hope I'm audible. And I'm just going to share my screen. Let me know when it's visible at your end.
Yes, sir. Your screen is visible and you are audible also. You can go ahead.
Great. Yeah. So first of all, thank you for having me take this session. And it's good to always come back and do something in Mumbai University because uh, I basically passed out of Mumbai University, and just to give you a brief introduction about myself, just the way Rathore sir said, I've been with Fractal for almost 10 years, 11 years actually. I played multiple roles for last six and a half years. I have been part of capability group, which you can also think about as an R&D group. which focuses on latest trends and technologies in analytics space. So 6 years back, when I was working, I was basically focusing on sort of visualization and BI space, because that was something that was in trend. Then I did something with one of our cognitive BI solutions, which is called as a Cuddle. It's a product. And for last 3 years, I've been focusing on robotic process automation as a part of my work. I am currently heading workflow automation practice across practice, across different domains within practice. And my teams are based out of Mumbai, Gurgaon, Bangalore, etc. That's more about more or less about what I do. Obviously, we'll get more into details of how what am I focusing on, why am I focusing on, and stuff like that. Just to give you a background about my academics, I have done my bachelor's in engineering and information technology from KJ Somaya. I'm a 2009 pass out, and post graduation, I joined faculty. Extremely fresh, extremely crude. Just had knowledge about some computer science, languages, etc. From there, basically practice helped me in order to understand what analytics is. Then came the era of entire BI tools. Then it was big data, and now it is all about AI and automation. Right? That has been my journey, and it's great to, as I said earlier, it's great to come back and get an opportunity in order to share some of these concepts with the university, which has given you so much. So coming back, to the agenda, what this session in next 30 to 45 minutes, what I'm going to cover is very, very, very big, introductory information about robotic process automation. There are a lot of different definitions of RPA. There are a different there are a lot of different ways in which it is interpreted, and just trying to put all of them together in order to bring a structured way of looking at what RPA can do and what RPA cannot do. Also, RPA is a very small part of the humongous universe that we are looking at today, which is intelligent automation, or we call it cognitive automation, and things like that. How does all of that fit together in one complete structure? That's what we are going to talk about. That's the agenda. We'll start with workflow automation. What is workflow automation? Where does RPA fit into it? What is the what is the role of RPA? Then we'll look at some components and architecture that fit into an RPA platform, looking at the strengths and the challenges. I mean, we in earlier sessions we spoke a lot about the challenges of AI, right? And there was a constant question. I was just I was so happy looking at the way the questions were coming, which were all related to the concerns that these advancements in technologies can lead to. And these are real life problems. I mean, and it was also exciting for me, because this is not just the problems that we as you guys are having, but this is something that even we contemplate every single day when we are trying to be practitioners of these, right? And these are the same problems that even the common person has at this point of time. So we'll talk some of a bit about them. We'll spend a quick understanding of what are the market, what are the tools in the market, how can they be used, and things like that. And finally, there will be a small glimpse of how we are taking robotic process automation to a next step. What is industry taking it to now, and bringing in the cognitive aspects or AI aspects to RPA to make it even more intuitive and more advanced. So with that, I will quickly look at workflow automation. Now, because I come from analytics background, right? For me, everything is all about journey from data to insights. It's all about how can I convert the data that is coming into my systems, or into my analysis, or anything. How can I convert that information into insights, right? And there are different stages or phases in which this happens, and these might change between different solutions that I deploy, or different products that we deploy, or different applications that we deploy. But if I have to categorize them, there are four major phases in every solution or an analytical solution that we deploy. It's first is data extraction. I mean, these systems are pulling data from various other sources, right? It can be social media, it can be RDBMS, it can be Oracle databases, it can be unstructured data, some coming via APIs, etc. Right? So first phase is all about extracting the data. Then it is all about processing. Raseshwar also mentioned that one of the biggest challenges that we have is processing the data. There is, you know, so as I look at it, there is no limitation to the data that can be captured, but there is limitation to the processing that we can have. Back in 2009, when I started, working as a business analyst, the amount of data that we could process was in MBs, right? But today, or MBs, or not more than a GB maybe. But today we are processing terabytes and terabytes of data. How do we do that, right? So that's another important part. The next phase is solutioning, right? We have the data, it's in the required format, it's in the shape and form that we need in order to create the meaningful insights, etc. And then we create solution. It can be in form of models, it can be in form of dashboards, it can be in form of simple messaging alerts as well, just saying that this thing is done. Those are solutions, right? So that's what is the third piece. And the last one is consumption. This is something that I feel is the most critical one, because if I'm building something, I want it to be consumed, I want it to be used, right? So that's how the entire journey of analytical solutions look like, or an AI solution look like, right? And what happens is that it's not a uniform single system that I'm using. It's not an autonomous system that I'm going to use in order to do all of these tasks. The solutions in real life are structured, it's not one application that does everything, right? It's combination of different applications that results into a value add that we can create in order to give a solution to business, right? So there are different there are different technologies, there are different platforms that are required at these different phases in the journey of a solution, right? Now what happens is that, now let me take a very simple example. Let's say I am basically creating a solution in Excel, okay, and I'm going to basically do it. I want to basically deliver it every month. Now I cannot go ahead and do those same tasks every single month, just because I have to deliver that Excel report, right? So what is the best way of doing it? I basically codify that entire logic in form of a macro. Now when we look at this automation, wherein I'm automating certain tasks which is related to Excel using a macro, which is again extended a technology platform for Excel itself. I am basically creating a native automation one. This is something that this is how we would like to look at every single platform or technology that we are working on. There is an inherent way of automating certain things on a particular platform or in a particular technology. Use of those components is what we call as native automation. However, as you know, right? I mean, these are so many technologies. I mean, a SharePoint will not talk to an Excel, or a Tableau will not talk to an Excel, or there might be all of these gaps, right? So even after natively automating all of these, there are still gaps or pieces where we require manual intervention in order to complete the solution. Now, what does it mean? It means that even if I've automated probably 60% of my work, I still have to spend 40% of my time in order to maintaining this solution. And businesses today don't want it. Businesses today want sort of a solution which can run on its own, right? It has sort of a way of doing things on its own by a trigger or by a scheduling or things like that. And that is where workflow automation comes into picture. And the different ways of doing workflow automation is robotic process automation, system automation, web automation. So that's how we can look at workflow automation. This is from a purview of analytics solution. But even if we look at it from a core IT industry point of view, different solutions will have these different buckets. And how do we automate an end-to-end business process using different ways or mechanisms in order to stitch different individual components together is what it's what defines workflow automation. Now, just giving you a perspective of what all different ways of workflow automation are. It starts from a very simple web automation where we can use Python or Selenium. These are sort of scripting languages that we have been known for a very long period of time. And we can use them in order to automate tasks that we can do on web, we can do on system. It goes to as primitive as using of batch scripts or PowerShell scripts or cron jobs for that matter. These are so primitive in nature that we can easily use them in order to automate certain tasks. A simplistic example would be copying a file from a server to your local. If we do not write scripts, a person will have to manually copy them, right? But then using scripts, we can actually automate them. So even if it is 5 minutes of work that a person has to do, we can actually remove that dependency from that person. And that's the whole point of using workflow automation, to reduce human dependency in day-to-day tasks as much as possible. Then now with cloud, with cloud becoming such a huge thing, there are so many cloud solutions which offer, automation at a cloud level. So think about it like, you have an Excel, Microsoft Online Excel that you have created, and you want to do certain things out of that, right? So there are options which Microsoft is given. I mean, it's written as Microsoft Flow over here because it is what it was called when it was launched. But last year they relaunched it and they called it as Microsoft Power Automate. But these are the kind of tools that we have been using on cloud. Today we are going to focus on something which is robotic process automation. We first of all, what we try to do is that we try to understand what does the robotic process automation mean, because there are multiple definitions or layers in which this particular concept is perceived. We also, we what we have tried to do is that in last 3 years when I started working on RPA, it was a completely blank sheet for me, right? And I went through a lot of articles, I learned all of these technologies, and what we have come up is we have come up with a sort of a definition for it. But before we go to that, I would like to just spend half a minute just understanding why is it important. Now these are some of the statements that people like people from Gartner or from Forrester, they have been mentioning that robotic process automation is a hot topic, and it's been a hot topic for the last 3 or 4 years, right? But it's growing. It's something that is not stopping, and the reason for that is the way it integrates with your existing systems. It is very seamless in integrating with your existing systems, and it is very easy to adopt. It is very easy to basically make it a part of your existing processes. It does not need a revolution in a way. When we are looking at when we shifted from legacy systems to sort of different modernized systems, or when we shifted from flat databases to relational databases, it was a revolutionary movement, right? Where we have to shift from one technology to another technology. But the reason why, why is it's so important and why is it growing so much is because this does not require a revolution per se. It actually sits on your existing system. That's something which is very important to understand about RP. It's something that sits on your existing systems. It takes away those drawbacks or faults that your existing systems might have, and it basically, patches it with different other systems in order to make it an integrated solution. So that's something that makes it slightly different from what the other integrated solutions in the market has to offer. And its integration in different domains is very well known. I mean, it's something that is used across all the domains. I mean, there are banking industries and insurance industries have been using it from the time of the inception. It's been, I mean, these domains are actually sort of fossils in RPA implementation. It's been 6 years, 7 years of usage that we have done. Now RPA is also extending its sort of implementations across newer generations of domains like CPG. I mean, CPG as in it's not a newer generation, but from a technology point of view, it's always a second type of generation, right? So it's also introducing itself over there, and it's sort of growing into a lot of other aspects as well. So it's one thing that we need to understand is that the reason why RPA is something which is adopted widely is because it how easily it gels with your existing ecosystems, and how easily you can control the rate at which you can scale RPA bots, and how you can make changes as well. That's why it's important. Now let's try and we've spoken too much about why is it important and all of that. Now let's try to understand what robotic process automation is. So what we have tried to do is that we have tried to define RPA with these words. Robotic process automation is a use of software program to mimic the actions of a human user would perform on system. It constructs creation of a virtual task force to complete rule-based processes which are monitored and governed to ensure optimized profitability. A lot of words, right? Just to make sure that we are understanding it right. Let's try and break it down. Okay, let's look at the first part. RPA basically gives you a software application or a program. It's a sequence of code, okay, which we call it as bot or a robot, which mimics the human actions, okay, that can be performed on a system. So think about it where, I basically get up in the morning and first thing that I do is I open my Outlook and look for all the unread emails. That's the exact thing that the bot will do. It will open Outlook, it will read through all the, unread emails. That's what it does. Now let's look at the second one. It basically constructs a virtual task force. What it means is that one bot is capable of doing one particular type of task, but that one particular type of task is not enough for me to, to get the basic, profitability or margins and stuff like that. Right? It's not going to solve my business problem. So I just don't need one particular bot, but I need a series of bots, right? Which can maybe talk to each other, which can maybe have a handshake, or which can basically interact with each other also. So a combination of these task force, a combination of these bots basically help us in creating a virtual task force, which do different business processes, as I said. Now the third part is very much important, and we spoke about this. Humans are important. Yes, it's sort of a it's eventually it's an application. It's a tool that is built by humans, right? So we basically need some level of monitoring and governance in order to ensure that there is an optimized profitability to the way the bots are functioning. So this is what this is how we basically define a robotic process automation. Does this mean that can we automate each and every task that a human is doing using RPA? Answer is no. There are certain basic requirements that a particular process needs to adhere to in order to be qualified to be automated using RPA. So just expanding on that particular, those five bubbles that we saw at the bottom, just expanding them. There are some guidelines that we have to follow in order to make sure that we are choosing the right processes in order to automate using RPA. The first one is stability. The process that we choose in order to automate needs to be stable. It needs to it needs to be, when I mean stable, it needs to be same or it has to remain similar for at least a considerable amount of time. It can't be like today I'm doing this, tomorrow I have to do that. And I'm not talking about smaller decisions, but I'm talking about an entire entity of a business process. It needs to be stable and it needs to be it needs to be like that for a considerable amount of time. The second thing that is very much important, it's something that requires specific set of well-defined rules that the processes follow. It cannot be like there are n number of exceptions in the process that can be accommodated when we are doing RP. It's sort of a a place where we can think about an if else statement. We can only accommodate X number of if else statement in a code, right? If there are too many if else statements, that it's not something that it can do. That's the same thing with robotics, standard robotic process automation. And that's why we need well-defined rules in order to achieve automation using RPA. The third thing is structured data. Bots can understand and read data in tabular format. It basically requires data to be at a row level or at a column level, or basically in a sequence of entities or a key value pair that it needs to understand in order to take decisions or make actions required. So structured data is important. The fourth one is repetitive. We can't take a process which is something that is going to run once in a while, and we want to automate. Right? It's not going to give us profitability. There is no point of automating something which does not have a probability of when it is going to run next, right? Which has a very low probability of when it is going to run next, right? So it's not optimized. It's not something that will be beneficial to the organization in terms of investments and everything that they make. The last one is there should be a standard input output, as in if you are giving data in a in form of an Oracle DB which is connecting to the bot, then that needs to be the same. It cannot change to something else on its own, right? So there is a standard input. At the same point of time, there needs to be a standard output. The content of the output will change definitely because the bot makes certain decisions based on the rules that we feed in, but the format of the output needs to be changed. Just to give you an example, I have defined the bot to give an Excel as an output. I cannot expect it to send out an email, as an output until and unless I've not had basically an exception for it. So these are some of the basic rules, that we basically adhere to when we are trying to choose a use case which can be done using robotic process automation. Just taking a wider lens at it, if the process doesn't follow these guidelines, that doesn't mean that it cannot be automated. It's just that RPA is not the right set of technology in order to automate them. That's something that I wanted to highlight very strongly over here. There are other ways of automating things, but RPA has a specific set of guidelines that we have to follow. Otherwise, it's not going to be beneficial for us to use this technology. It will not give us optimized profits. It will result in. I mean, we'll try to automate something in order to reduce our work, but we probably might end up increasing our work. So these are the right and thumb rules that we follow when we are choosing a use case for whether it qualifies for an RPA or not. Now that basically comes us to the next section, which is understanding, how does it work, right? What are the different components? I mean, the basic thing that we want. I mean, whenever we are talking about an application, the most important thing is it's not just one single thing that works, right? It is combination of multiple components that will work together. So in the next section, what we are going to do is that I'm just going to walk you through the three major components that are required by any RPA platform in order to function. This doesn't mean that these are the only three components, but these are bare minimum three components that you will find in any RPA platform. That brings me to the first one, which is studio or a recorder. A studio or a recorder, you can think about it like a coding interface. It's where you develop the bots. We can think about it as a Microsoft Visual Studio, or we can think about it as a Python IDE or PyCharm or Anaconda or things like that. This is the place where you design the bot. This is the place which is used by the developers in order to create the logic that is required in order to design the bot. That's the first component. The second component is the control tower. Now, a bot, once it is created, I mean, it's nothing but it's a sequence of code, right? Now that is something which it's just a sequence of code that a developer has created. Now someone needs to basically understand how many bots are going into production, which bot runs when, what time should it be executing, should it be executing by a particular trigger, and how is it performing? That's even another important aspect, right? What we spoke about, governance. Whether the bot is running properly or no, whether it is functioning properly or no. So there is a central control tower which is linked to every studio or a recorder in an environment. So you can think about a control tower as a repository of all the bots that go into production. So it basically helps the organizations or the developers in order to manage these bots, right? What I mean by managing is when to basically schedule these bots, when to run them, what should be their time, to understand whether a bot is failing at a particular point or no, or things like that. So you can think about control tower as basically the brain of entire RPA construct, where it controls all the different bots. It determines whether they are functioning properly or no, and things like that. Okay. The last component is an executor. Now we basically understood about a studio or a recorder where we create the bots. The second one was control tower. It basically regulates where which bots are there, what is to be done, when to be execute a particular thing, how is it performing, etc. But we require, as I said, it basically replicates a human action, right? So it requires a system where the code needs to be executed or the bot needs to run. So you can think about executor as different VMs or VDIs that are connected to control tower. And the control tower, when it says that, okay, this is the time to run bot 1, it will go and it will activate an executor, which is connected to the control tower, and that code will go ahead and run on that executor. A control tower is connected to multiple executors, and it manages the functioning of these executors and things like that. So you can think about these as slaves, which are connected to the master, which is control tower, and it governs how the executors need to be executed. How the executors need to execute the bots and at what amount of time, and it basically keeps a monitor or track of what these different bots are doing. So as I said, these are three main components of RPA platform. These are logical components. Technical components, there are multiple of them. I mean, within a control tower, there is a database, there is an object store, there is an application store, there are multiple other things. But if we have to logically divide the entire platform, these are the three main components that that the RPA platform would have. And be it across any particular tool available in market, these three platforms these three components will always be there. They might be named in a different way, but logically these components will always be there. Coming to the next one, how does this is just basically an articulation of how different bots function. So let's think about it this way, where bot 1 to bot 6 are basically bots that are created by using an RPA studio. These bots get published on a control tower. The control tower basically, and every bot is associated to a particular task, right? And these tasks are performed by humans. Now, what a control tower does is that it basically triggers a bots to whenever a different task needs to be performed, and a combination of these things will lead to a delivery. So, as I said, right, if it is a requirement of scheduling of the bots in a sequential way, or two bots need to talk to each other, that's something that the control tower manages, and it basically makes sure that there is a complete synchronization between different bots in order to make a successful business delivery. As I said, what we saw, in the above slide, I mean, those were the three components, right? But when we look at the ecosystem when we look at RPA ecosystem, there are multiple other things. There are so many things that, and they keep on adding, right? What you can see over here is within the RPA platform itself, there is a robotic component library, there is an application object store, there is an execution data, there is something called as RPA analytics also, which is used in order to determine whether the bots are performing at the highest possible optimal levels as well. Execution orchestration is what deals with when to run which bot. Then there is actual bot, that the bot code. Then there are execution logs. These are used for all the audit purposes, etc. Then you basically have RPA infrastructure, which is a combination of all the executors that are there, which includes VMs, VDS, or even physical systems. In some cases, it's rare, but still there are some of those. And then there are external applications on which these RPA bots run, right? It can be an Oracle DB, it can be SAP systems, it can be things like Tableau or Spotfire, which are BI tools. And all of this works together in order to create an ecosystem. And configuration of these ecosystems are very important, because if we are talking about a bot going and doing something on an Oracle, we need to grant accesses, we need to grant permissions, we need to grant, a right set of services needs to be activated, right? So this configuration becomes important, and this is very organization specific implementation. So what I have laid out is it's just an example of how an ecosystem would work, but every organization has different set of tools, every organization has different set of platforms that they work on. Integrations are different. Someone might be, some people might be on Azure, some people might be on GCP, some people might be on AWS. Integrations are different, connectors are different, but it's basically an ecosystem that combines together in order to create this RPA end-to-end platform. So that's a small example of how these RPA ecosystem come into existence. Again, there is no this is not something that is standard everywhere. It changes from organization to organization. It changes from use case to use case. It changes from business to business. It changes from IT norms to IT norms. So it's very variable, but we sort of have tried to bucket it into different components, like application under RPA execution and stuff. So next one basically brings me to strengths and challenges. I mean, from the likes of it, what we just saw, we said that RPA is something that mimics a human action. And we said that it's something which is so powerful that it can it can stitch a lot of components together. But these are not I mean, these are not the only points that industries look for, right? Industries look for one of the biggest things that they look for. It's cost saving, it's productivity. Uh, one of the major places where RPA is implemented at this point of time is in BPO and KPO implementation, all the back office work. Let me give you a small example. That is very prominent in RPA industry. It's basically a data entry job. Now, data entry job is something where data is getting captured in form of Excels or stuff like that, and then they basically have to go ahead and put this data into, or maybe it can be a handwritten or a sheet as well, right? And putting this data into a database, right? There are a lot of, I mean, for example, handwritten forms, right? There's a lot of investment of people from BPO, KPO industry in order to perform these stuff. In last 5 or 6 years, a lot of these processes are replaced by RPA. So it's a very simple mundane task, right? You look at a particular sheet, you understand what is written over there, and you basically enter that into your database, right? It's a very mundane and a very rule-based task. We just have to understand in what format are we getting the data. Then it's all about just copy pasting that information. So you can think about the amount of hours that one can save when we are able to implement something using technology. And once you save hours, that means you are saving the amount of people that you are investing on. Investment of people, nothing but correlates back to your cost, right? What is the cost that you are incurring? And this is one of the biggest reasons why RPA is so critical in industry at this point of time, because it has led to a very strong savings in terms of cost and increasing the productivity. This is one of the reasons why it's so integrated in market for BPO and KPO processes that it drives to a very strong savings in terms of cost. The second one is speed. Obviously, I mean, when we are talking about what a human does versus what a machine can do, right? Let's just think about it. I'm just opening my emails, right? I'll take at least 3 or 4 minutes in order to do that, search through everything, and it's going to be at least 5 minute affair for me every single morning, right? But if that's something that a bot has to do, the execution speed is extremely fast. What I've seen is that the bot actually performs at least 3x to 4x faster than what a normal human does. So look, going back to the earlier example, if a data entry job is what I was trying to automate, a human was taking roughly, let's say, 5 minutes in order to do it. But now the bot can actually do it in 1 minute or 2 minutes, maybe max 3 minutes at the worst case scenario. That's speed, right? So that's faster execution. We are able to do things faster. What does that mean? Things that we were supposed to deliver tomorrow, now we can deliver it today itself. That's how business looks like. That's why it's so important for me. So it's not just cost that I'm saving, but it's also faster execution that I'm able to achieve. Third one, it's a very important one. A human can make mistakes. A human can sort of, make mistakes in mundane tasks because for a very obvious reason. Sometimes you get bored. Sometimes, we are just bored of doing the same work again and again, right? So we can sort of lose concentration for a minute and we can copy paste the number wrong from one place to the other. Right? Whereas it's a bot, now it's an application, it's a code. A code can barely go wrong. I mean, I'm not saying that the code doesn't go wrong, but it's a mundane task. There are very few areas where it will actually go wrong when it has when it knows the exact rules that it needs to follow, right? So the quality is also higher over here. The better we have better quality in terms of how the processes are executed. Right? Also, there is one more important thing that we are able to do it, because all of this is digitized, because all of this is software driven. We can actually capture each and every action that the bot is doing. And in a lot of especially in insurance and finance, every single transaction that happens on a database is recorded. But there are a lot of transactions that also happen outside a database where a person might be making some changes in the data and things like that. Now, some of these some of these actions are not something that can be monitored, and it might actually lead to some compliance issues. And this is a very real life scenario, especially in finance and bank, finance and insurance, as I mentioned. With a bot doing, we can actually track each and every aspect of these processes, right? And it's as clean as if something went wrong, we can actually understand what went wrong at what point of time and why, and also we can reduce the chances of it. So that's the reason why these are something these are some of the things that are considered of high value to business when it comes to RPA. The other one is new options and flexibility. Obviously, this is something that I said earlier. RPA is not an integrated solution, just the way we can look at a new software or something like that. It's something that sits on top of your existing environment. So it's not revolutionizing your existing environment, but it is about amalgamating your existing environment with these new set of things, right? So if I have to go ahead and implement RPA, it's not a Panchvarshiya Yojana where I have to think about it from a 5 years plan where I will go slow first year, where I will understand things in first year and things like that. Yes, there is a process of discovery, assessment, and all of that, but it's way more faster. It's basically it gives me it's something that I can work with using current and existing setup that I have, and gradually I can make it move. At the same point of time, I can start implementing a few things, and I can start gaining benefits as well. So that's something that is a key thing, and in my opinion, that's one of the reasons why RP is such a hit. Nobody wants to go away. Nobody likes a lot. I mean, especially when we talk about IT guys, they don't like changes to existing systems. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of effort that has gone into set up a system, right? And today, just because technology is advancing and everything is moving at a cheetah space, doesn't mean that infrastructure also changes with that space, right? It has to eventually, but it still is a lot of effort, right? So that's in my opinion, it's one of the biggest reasons why RPA has been a very strong a reason for I mean, this is one of the strongest reasons why RPA adoption has been higher. Uh, and it's something that it's growing. The next one is and this is something manageability and risk reduction. This is something that we we observed a lot during this COVID situation, during the pandemic, right? A lot of processes, and to be very honest, we received a lot of requests in last 3 months in order to automate things, because people understood that dependency on humans for every single day task, which is mundane, which is repetitive in nature, it's sort of risky, because we can get into a situation where a person may not be able to come to office. He might not have access to the system. He might not have internet connectivity. A person might not be able to, have resources in order to do the task. That means that you're jeopardizing the entire business because of that. Now with bots, because these are digital forces, there's no effect of these external factors on this. Obviously, there are other risks that we will talk about, but it reduces, it increases this BCP or business contingency planning levels extremely high when we are depending on a system rather than a person in order to do everyday tasks, right? Let me just give you a small example. And this is something that we have been doing internally as well. We basically are looking at finance processing automation. That's where people are submitting their receipts and their employees and also external people. They are basically submitting their invoices of their expenditure. Now, earlier what we were doing was we had a person in our finance team, and Rasesh sir is not here, but I mean, this is something that I'm doing with him on. But every single day the person would collate all of this, create entries of them in our MIS system, and then it goes for processing. Then the payment happens and so on. Now, in these difficult times, because now we have a bot in place, a person has to go ahead and just upload these files on a particular, these invoices, the images of these invoices on a particular folder or in a structure, in a particular location. The bot basically picks them up. It uses OCR in order to extract the information from these images, puts all of this information into the finance portals. It doesn't submit. It doesn't go to the level where it goes and makes the payment, but it does actually do 80% of the job that the person was doing earlier, right? A human was doing earlier. So this is a good example of I mean, and especially in this situation where economy is shaking, and it's so much of important in order to have a financial security, right? A process like this can actually make people feel better at some point of time. So that's one small example, but there are numerous such examples of processes that basically are so risk sensitive that having a lapse in them because of a human not turning up or things like that, it's sort of very it might have a larger impact, right? So this is another reason why digital workforce is sort of important. The last one is and as I said, this is something that is an extension to the new option and flexibility. It's something that sits on top of your existing system. Now if I have to make, if let me give a very classic example. SAP system, these are one of the most primitive systems that we have at this point of time, and every organization will have an SAP system. SAP systems are used for procurement, they are used for distribution, they are used for managing the CRMs and all of that. Okay. Now, but if tomorrow I have to automate something on this SAP system, I'll have to go through 100 things in order to get access to this particular system. Even if I have to access the data and I have to write something. Write is something that SAP systems don't even allow. But it's something that I have to do a lot. I have to tussle a lot with the IT department of different organizations if I have to do an automation of it. But what it does is that SAP systems have their preset UI applications through which you can go ahead and update data and all of that. That's something that they permit, but they will not allow you to do it all that from backend, right? Using an API and things like that. So what these RPA applications do is that I don't need anything specific. All I'm going to do is that I'm just going to replicate what Mr. XYZ was doing. All I'm going to do is that I'm going to use a code in order to replicate his actions. So there are a lot of places where I don't have to get into that IT tussle in order to approve my automation. And as I said, is one of the reasons, and maybe because because I have been into technology and have to have a lot of and I work with different clients, and it's a big battle to basically convince an IT team or that infrastructure team within an organization to adopt or accept a new solution. And that's something which is very less in RPA because it sits on top of a lot of systems that you might have in place already. So these are some of the reasons why RPA is very effective, why it's adopted widely, and why people are expanding expanding their current infrastructure to be more suited to RPA. RPA can suit a lot with a lot of technologies, but in order to make it even more efficient, even more optimal, if we can change certain things around infrastructure over a period of time, that's great. So that's what organizations are doing at this point of time. These are all the strong points, great points, and all of that, right? But obviously, every technology has the downside to it. And as I said, RPA is great. It's a great approach. I mean, it's something that from the likes of it, I basically think about it and I say that it replicates my actions, right? So I can use it everywhere. No, that's not the case. It's not something that can be used everywhere. And if we are not assessing an opportunity properly, we are actually designing a solution wherein we are putting ample amount of dollars, we are putting ample amount of efforts, and what we will get in return is actually going to be very bad. So it's very important to understand, where RPA works, where it doesn't work, and what is the best area where it can be applied, right? So, and that brings me to the first point. And this is something that was very common in early stages of RPA. I'm talking about probably 2015, 2014, 2016. Maybe that is the time. And it still is the case with a lot of organizations. Uh, it's something that is it's a hip word, right? Today it's like, oh, everyone is doing RPA. I also need to do it. It saves a lot of money. But and as I said, it sits on top of things. It sits on your existing infrastructure. It sits on your existing systems, right? So go to market is very fast. So these are very, very, very good pointers for a leadership in an organization to think that yes, it's going to work for them. Yes, it's going to be something with which I can save a lot of money. I can drive productivity and all that. But that's not entirely true. It's very important to understand that understand the reason why you want to use RPA. Whether the processes that you plan to automate are they something that fit into those 5 parameters that we spoke about, right? So having a rational thought behind why we want to do RPA setup or where we want to apply RPA is very important. Otherwise, it's a huge investment with no returns on it. That's something which is very it's something that a lot of organizations have faced. Even I have seen even today I have seen a couple of examples where this has happened. We Just to give you an example, last year we were working on an assignment where we had to entirely retweak our RPA setup because the way it was designed in the first place, it was not capable of handling the kind of work that particular organization needed. So, they spent an entire year setting it up, designing certain processes in that, and then when it went into deployment, realized that this is not working out. We basically wanted to save a 50 people's work by doing this, but now what we are doing is that we are investing on 25 developers, which are more expensive than the earlier ones, in order to maintain all of this, right? It's something that it keeps on happening, and we basically had to redesign it. We had to basically relook at the entire architecture, and we are still working on it. So having a strong rationale behind why are we using, what are we using, and how are we going to leverage it is very important for a successful RP implementation. The next one is maintenance and operations, and uh, it's extremely important to not just look at the speed of development, but it is also important to understand that once it is developed, I have to maintain it. I have to make sure that it is going to run for a longer period of time. Let me give you a very small example of something like Facebook. Okay, now Facebook has changed over a period of time. It has changed a lot, right? I mean, the way it behaves, the way it looks, the way it operates, a lot has changed. In features, modules, etc. Right? But the basic concepts of Facebook have not changed. A feed is a feed, a news feed is a news feed. Adding friends is always the same. So the core functionality is not changing. So now, when I look at it from an organization perspective, there might be systems or applications which change very frequently. And if these applications are going to change very frequently, that means that every time there is a change in the application, its behavior is going to change. When I say behavior is going to change, it means that the process will have changes, right? And when a process changes, I have to go back and I have to tweak the bot. So it's not just speed of development that we have to take into consideration while choosing an RPA, RPA as a tool for a process, but it is also what we have to take into consideration, that how sustainable is it going to be? How much is it? Is it something that it's going to stay with us for? That's otherwise we'll spend more amount of time maintaining it and making sure that it is working rather than actually getting benefits out of it. So that's another point that we have to be cautious about, and I think this is extremely critical. In earlier session, I mean, there was a point where there was a question about data security and human decisions that are being made by the bots and by these AI applications or things like that, right? This is extremely critical point in RPA. Now, when we say a bot is going to replicate a human action or it's going to mimic a human action, we have to be very sensitive about the tasks that we can allow the bot to do. And going back to the earlier example that I was mentioning, which we have done it in our organization, we have basically codified every task that is there in that process using the bot. But a very critical task that we have left out is actually making the payment or processing the payment. And that's something that, that's something that a lot of other organizations have also done. So the places where there are high chances of, cybersecurity incidents, or, where there is a data leakage that can happen, we have to be very sensitive about these kind of scenarios when it comes down to use of bots. We have to be extremely critical and understand that um, it a bot is used in order to augment or basically supplement the work that humans are doing. It should be used in order to reduce the efforts that humans are spending in order to perform mundane tasks. But there are certain decision making tasks, or there are certain critical tasks which a human only has to do. And that handshake between a human and a bot is very important. And it's something that is very important when it comes down to RPA implementation. Use of secure vaults, use of Windows credential managers, use of CyberArk, which is another leading vault technology that we have. These all are used very heavily in integration with RPA platforms to ensure that there is no leakages of any credentials, there are no violations of any data leaks and stuff like that. So this is something which is very critical when it comes down to RPA implementation. Misses on this point can actually lead to audit failures, which can impact organizations to a very great extent. In terms of basically data privacy and all of those aspects as well. So that's the third point. The fourth one is methodology and documentation. I think this is something that is very prominent in all the technology solutions that we develop. The way we develop a solution, that methodology needs to be well documented. As you know, as Raseshwar was saying earlier and talking about explainability, this explainability is very important, because the processes that we design using bot, they will run for 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, and so on, right? Or maybe more than that as well. We cannot have the same set of developers working on it for 3 years or 5 years. We cannot have same set of team working on this for 5 years or 6 years, right? So documenting the methodology or the thought process with which this was designed, what are the different components that are used, what is the functionality of a component, all of that needs to be well documented to ensure that the bot has a longer lifespan. And it's not dependent on a developer, but it is sort of dependent on the processes and the documents that are available in order to make required alterations with a given time. So these are four major aspects of standard RPA which need to be taken into consideration when we are implementing it. We need to have rationale. We need to not only take care of how much time is it going to take to develop, but we also need to take into consideration what is the maintenance and the operation cost that I'm going to incur. I'm automating what a human does, but a human has much more sophistication in thinking, and we got to respect that. And that's something that we need to take into the cybersecurity part, wherein we draw a clear line between what should do and what a bot should not do. And the last one is basically understanding the method and the documentation, and documenting it in order to ensure that the bots have a higher lifespan. So this is about RPA is great, but it's great, but it has its own strengths and its challenges, right? I'm going to take a quick. I'm not going to get into much details of this. These are some of the platforms that are used in industry in order to implement RPA solutions. Blue Prism, Automation Anywhere, UiPath, these are the top three contenders in the market, and basis of Gartner report this year as well, these are the top three. Work Fusion is sort of something that it's an open source. It's an open source license tool. So if you want to experiment or you want to start learning something on RPA basics and things like that, you can probably just visit Work Fusion site and you can download the latest version as well. And also, I think later in the later part of this program, my colleague Rubida, she will basically have a hands-on session in order to explain how we can develop bots on Work Fusion. But yeah, so just to give you a flavor of this, Blue Prism Automation and UiPath, these are some of the leaders in RPA platforms in industry. And in my experience, every organization, I mean, every Fortune 500 organization that I've worked with, they at least have one of these platforms already installed in their infrastructure. I've not come across an organization till now which does not have any of them over here. That's the level of adoption that these platforms have. On the cost part, these platforms are slightly expensive, as compared to the standard platforms or tools that we might have. These are generally enterprise-wide setup application, and hence the cost. Also the maintenance, also the implementation is not just in one particular system, but it is an ecosystem implementation, right? So that's why the costs are sort of higher on the higher side as well. But that's the generic, that's the generic, and the generic landscape for the tools that are there in RPA platform. So coming to the last part of the presentation, this is just a very initial or a very starting point of what cognitive automation is, or what cognitive RPA is. I mean, the broader theme for us for this particular session is AI, right? And what I just spoke about is just standard RPA. And RPA is sort of something that does a lot of replication of human actions, but these human actions are rule based. These are not decision driven actions, right? Then how do we call it as an AI integrated platform, or how is it an AI based platform? So the reason why it is an AI based platform is because the way this entire tool is designed, it takes into consideration it uses a lot of concepts of computer vision of what is happening on the screen, and it tries to automate. It basically allows us to automate those actions, right? It basically allows us to convert some of the data which is there in JPEG formats, etc., into digital formats using OCR. So these are some of the reasons why it is an AI. It's an AI driven platform. But the reason why it is also an AI integratable platform is because, as I said, it's something that sits on top of things, right? Just the way it can sit on top of a lot of existing systems, what it allows us to do is that it allows us to also integrate very easily with some of the AI components that are available. And what is that cognitive RPA? How do we define it? Is something that I will just try to talk about in next 5 or 7 minutes. So again, just a recap. What is robotic process automation? Robotic process automation is nothing but creation of a virtual task force which does rule-based, repetitive, stable processes which has structured data and has a standard set of input and output. Right? And obviously, we do have human validation in this entire setup, because we want to ensure that the processes are not completely running on their own. If something goes wrong, then it goes into a loop, right? And we need to have a human validation if we need to course correct it at some point. Now, we also understand that there are a lot of problems with RPA. It cannot make decisions on its own. It only follows rules. It cannot make decisions. And so all the decisions that it makes is an if-else statement, or it's a case statement, right? But what if it actually has to understand what can I do at this point of time? It is not capable of doing that at this point of time. That's what standard RPA cannot do. What it cannot do is it cannot handle too many exceptions. As I said, when we are let's say we are correcting papers, right? When we are correcting assignments, one person makes mistake in one particular answer, And there are 1,000 ways in which a particular answer can be wrong, right? And those are too many exceptions. Can I just do it? Can I just codify it? Answer is yes. Feasible? Yes. But is it practical? No, it's not. So it cannot handle many exceptions, right? It's something that has a limitation of something like a switch or a case statement, right? That's what it is. Can it learn? Can it learn on its own? Answer is no. Does it? Can we help it learn on its own? Yes. We can understand how what is working. We can understand where it is failing, and we can go back and change the code. But can it do it? Can it something? Is it something that it can do on its own? Answer is no, right? Again, unstructured data. It's not something that can work with unstructured data, right? It requires a lot of ways in order to it can process stable, but it cannot go beyond that. So these are problems with standard RPA, and technology moves fast. RPA platforms came into existence in probably 2014 at a very large scale, 2014-15. The work started a bit earlier, but then adoption started growing at that point of time. And just in 1 or 2 years, people start realizing that these are problems with using standard RPA. The platforms or the tools have a lot of potential, but these are some challenges that we are going to face in next 1 or 2 years. That's something that started and it's something that it started I also started contemplating, right? It's just rules. How is it something that is going to help me more? So now, if you look at all of these aspects, these are intelligent. And then when we talk about intelligence, obviously we talk about artificial intelligence. Is there a way in order to infuse these concepts? I mean, there are solutions in market which things like chatbot. What is chatbot? Chatbot basically we train it on conversing with people with a specific problem, and then the bot, because of the neural networks that are formed, it basically understands how to respond. Can we integrate that in the way these bots start behaving, right? So that's something that we started thinking on. And I think last year, I think it was last year October, something like that. October or May, I don't remember. I think it was May. I was basically I was in the US, and I attended a conference on cognitive RPA. And this is what we were talking about, and this is something that we created last year as well. And how everyone is trying to move in that direction, right? So we started looking at the solution that we have been providing, and we started thinking that okay, if we are able to bring in intelligence, we can actually unlock more opportunities, right? And that's how basically RPA is now moving into the second stage of its intelligence, where it is not only mimicking human actions that it knows, but it is also starting to understand how to take and what actions to take. And that's what cognitive RPA. That's what we define cognitive RPA as. This, I mean, if you do a Google search, you'll find 100 definitions of cognitive RPA. As I said, every person has a different perspective about it and wants to define it in a different way. What we have done is that we based on our experience and what the industry leaders are talking about it, what we say is that cognitive RPA is where we can infuse software-based intelligence to perform judgment-based tasks and assist humans in making decisions at critical points. And obviously, we use deep learning algorithms, machine learning algorithms. We use basically outlier algorithms or anomaly detection algorithms, things like that, in order to determine these outliers or exceptions. And basis that, we are trying to help bot take decisions. So that's what cognitive RPA is. There is one thing that changed between this slide and this slide is you can see that this was human validation. Now we are saying that we are going to do human assistance, and that's a very key aspect for adoption of these kind of solutions. And I think in some of the questions that we were hearing earlier, we did talk about how these new technologies or how intelligence or artificial intelligence can actually not be adopted by a lot of practitioners at this point of time, be it any domain. It's not just medical, but it's a lot of domains, right? And the entire aim of how we look at things is we want to assist humans. We don't want to replace them, because it's important to understand that there are certain elements of whenever we bring intelligence to our systems, uh, it's going to have no, even if it is intelligent, it will be trained on a particular thing. It's going to have its own neural network that it will follow. But humans have much wider neural network than systems can have, at least at this point of time. And that's the flavor that we want to basically look at these solutions with. It's something that we want to deliver in order to assist humans, but it's not something that we want to use in order to replace humans. And that's how we are looking at these solutions. And there's one last slide, before we move on to it. So this is how basically cognitive RPA components and roles are. Robotic process automation, it still stays the same. It's still going to do the same things like what humans are doing, which is basically transferring the data, downloading the data, things like that, UI automations, and those are the same platforms that we are going to use. But in order to bring in the cognitive component, we basically start using a lot of cloud services or cognitive components, and we start integrating them with the RPA platform, which involve NLP, which involve computer vision, which involve things like Watson, and so on. I mean, sky is the limit over here. And a lot of examples that that come to my mind. One example that I think was shared earlier as well. It was detection of damage. Rashesh sir was sharing, talking about an application wherein you can determine what is the percentage of damage for stuff at your home, and you can claim insurance, right? One of the solutions that we are working on, and basically what it does is that it has a bot which does all the standard things, capturing information from users and all of that. What it also does is that it has a computer vision component which basically helps us determine what is the percentage of damage. Now, depending on percentage of damages, there are rule-based calculations that happen. So once the computer vision component tells us that this is the percentage of damage on this particular car, it goes back to the bot. The bot does its rule-based calculations depending on whatever the numbers are fed from the cognitive component, and it gives out an estimation of how much you can claim and what will be passed and things like that. And this is something that this is something that we are sort of working on at this point of time, and this is more from a car insurance claim point of view. But that's what it is doing, right? What it is doing is that earlier with RPA we were able to probably automate 60% of tasks. 40% were judgment based, 40% were a lot of exceptions that required human intervention and all of that. With this integration, we are able to increase that gap to maybe 80%. Still there is human, and we can't take that human away, but we can still reduce the amount of time that humans can spend on taking these decisions. So that's what I wanted to share with the group over here. I hope it was helpful, and with that, I finish my slides, and if you have any questions, I think we can take them now.
Participants, please unmute yourself and you can have an interaction with sir.
Sorry, I forgot to share my. I forgot to switch on my camera earlier. I tried to do it now.
Nitesh sir, can you see the chat box?
Yes, I can see the chat box.
Then you can read those questions if you want. If you cannot, then we will read it for you.
I'm just reading through the question. According to you, what should be the key metric one must consider to mark success of RPA? Okay, so the first question is, what are the key metrics that we need to use in order to mark success of RPA bot? There are, I mean, just to answer to that question, it depends on organization needs. So let me try and give an example. The first primary thing that organizations are looking at when they want to measure success of RPA platform is the amount of hours that are being shared, saved. I mean, how much less people can I use in order to do more amount of work. So that's R save, which basically turns into cost and basically the investment, what you are investing in people, right? So obviously the amount of R saved and the cost that you are saving is it's a primary metric. Apart from that, as I said, the time to the turnaround time. So today I was delivering something, that I'm supposed to deliver something tomorrow when the data is coming today, right? With bot, I can sort of deliver it today itself. So speed, that's another one. And third one is also so speed and the speed is the other one. And third one is efficiency. When humans are doing something, certain things, we might end up having some unforced errors, right? So the quality of uh, uh, work is also something that can be an important metric. That's standard measurement of metrics across a lot of organizations. Now there are certain organizations which are on the latter side of RPA journey, which are on the more advanced side. They just don't want to save hours, but they want to save hours of people who are higher up the order, who take decisions. And that is where, cognitive RP and things like that come into picture. They just don't want to save the hours that are spent on, spent by their outsourced BPO or KPO units, but they want to actually save up hours of their important decision makers. So that's another interesting metric that has come in with AI. It's not something which is very prominent in our organization, but as I said, it's something that is in more advanced kind of organizations who have already been into RPA journey for a very long period of time. Some of the other things is also, how is the bot? I mean, the self-learning bots, right? The accuracy and stuff like that. So that's how I would like to answer this question. There are two ways of looking at it. One is sort of standard one, saving hours. Second one is the quality of hours that I'm saving. That's how people look at it. Great. The next one is car insurance model, which is going to Cars 24. Okay. I am not sure. I'm not sure if it is. To be very honest, I don't know if Cars 24 is using the same model or no. But the example that I gave you was for one of the leading insurance companies in the US, and that's something that we are doing for car insurance damage. So basically, whenever, so they have a portal and they have an application basically, and where you have to upload images, and automatically the bot picks that image up and then does the computer vision part on it, and on the app itself it sends out a notification that this is the percentage that will get covered. So yeah, so that's, I mean, I'm not sure about the model that Cars 24 is using, unfortunately, but that was the use case that we are working on. Second one is, okay, the next question is, RPA bots are really good at screen scraping. It is legal in India to scrape the screen. You're absolutely right. You are absolutely right. And that is the reason why, there was a point that I was talking about in terms of cybersecurity and data privacy, right? These tools are extremely, and people have, so first of all, legalities are totally involved, not only in just India, but outside of India as well. And it's not just related to screen scraping, but it is also about what kind of data can the bots be exposed to. So, for example, PII data, which is personally identifiable information, right? In some of the countries, bots are not allowed to use, have access to PII data, because eventually it's a technology, and if there is a flaw and it gets exposed, you can actually expose this PII information, which can lead to a lot of legal issues, right? So that is where a lot of audits are put into place with integration with CyberArk or Azure Key Vault or things like that, where one, the credentials are completely encrypted. Second one is the data is not passed on to the bot directly; it is anonymized and then passed. So using cryptic algorithms in order to hash it is something that we use. That's one. And on the scraping part, right? Legally, scraping of any third-party website is not allowed in India or in a lot of places. So use of bots directly for screen scraping is not done until and unless there is a written sort of agreement with the owner of the website. So, for example, Amazon allows screen scraping solutions using bots or using scripting languages as well. But you have to you basically have to have an agreement with them, which also has some cost associated with it, with which you can basically run scraping on. That's the way of looking at it. Now, for applications which are internally hosted, because they are proprietary of the organizations itself, scraping doesn't become a challenge. But for third-party applications which are available over internet, this is a very critical thing, and we have to get into some kind of agreement before we start scraping this information. So that's the answer for that question. And and even if you just go ahead and do it, I mean these desktop websites can actually track back that it's a bot that is doing all of this, and they just blacklist the IP itself. Yeah. So basically, what happens is that whenever you are running these bots, right, when you are doing web automations, just the way you require a driver for a particular hardware to work with your existing hardware, right? Similarly, for these bots to work with web automation via Chrome or Firefox, etc., they require drivers. Now, when these drivers are installed, they basically tell the browser that it's not a human that is doing this, but it's a bot that is doing it. So there is an identifier that basically goes through. And the way the websites are codified right now, these are stored in cookies. So they can actually capture these cookies and determine whether a particular action is performed by a bot or it is something that is done by a human. So that's one way of tracking it. And most of the larger websites, I mean, be it Amazon, be it Flipkart, be it Walmart and stuff like that, these guys have these bots which can basically determine crawlers and scrapers and bots functioning on their website. That's one way of looking at it. Second way is also they track the monitoring of the website. So basically they track how the websites are performing, right? So if there are too many activities that are happening on a web page, so for example, number of clicks, right? If there are like 50 clicks in 1 second, that means that it's not a human. So having those kind of metrics also, and which are tracked using Google GA and stuff like that. It's also another way to understand that that the bots are functioning on a website and not a human is doing it. But the latter part is something that is very primitive. It was done earlier. Now it's all regulated using the cookie aspects and the designing of the websites itself. I hope I answered that question.
Ritesh, there was one more question, I think. When you said that was question number one, no? Before that, there was one question.
Okay. Let me just. Sir, can you read it out because I'm not able
Okay,
to.
okay. I think from Dr. Venkata Dayasagar Ketaraju, it was what are the frameworks of RPA?
Okay.
That's it. This is the question.
Okay. I am not sure if I understand the question rightly, but because I mean the framework is so going back to the basic framework, it is all structured on concepts of Selenium. That's what is the base framework for all RPA platforms. There are advancements that have happened in the framework with computer vision modules coming into picture and things like that. But it all started with Selenium, which is a screen automation kind of approach or methodology that came into picture, I think, in 2012 or something like that. And the basic framework or the start of the point for RPA was actually it originated from testing point of view. So there were numerous test cases that people had to execute earlier, right? So Selenium came into picture and we automated test cases, and then the testing automations came into picture, and then from there it evolved into something which is computer vision based, and still holding a lot of Selenium bases as the framework and things like that. I don't know if I answered that question rightly, because I'm not sure if I understood what you mean by framework.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Aparna, madam.
Yes, sir. I think we have few questions. Thank you, Ritesh sir, for introducing us to upcoming technology like RPA in very, very simple words. Kindly accept the virtual memento. On behalf of S.P.I.T, once again, I thanks Ritesh sir for his time and his valuable talk on RPA. Thank you, Ritesh sir.
Thank you so much. And as I said, it's really absolute pleasure. Thank you.
So with this, our today's morning session is now over. I thank all participants for their participation. We'll now meet at 5 p.m. today for evening session, which is going to be a hands-on session on ML algorithm by our eminent speaker, Mr. Rocky Jagtani. So see you all at 5 p.m. Have a good day ahead. Thank you. Thank you.
Madam, ma'am,
Yes.
just one or two instructions.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So participants, please, those who have attended my FDP1, they know how we function because they already attended 15 days earlier. So they are already aware of that same link has to be used every day, right? Then the sessions are available on YouTube channel, etc., etc. But these are the repeated instructions for newly admitted participants. I can see that there are many participants who have joined YouTube today. They are looking at the live stream YouTube. So please do not use YouTube link to join unless and until you have a technical difficulty joining the WebEx platform. Because we'll be monitoring your attendance, everything only through WebEx platform, and through this platform only you are able to interact in a proper manner, right? You can talk to the resource persons directly. And particularly during the practical sessions, if you are on the YouTube platform, then interaction won't happen. So I request all those who are on the YouTube platform, that is a alternate arrangement which we have done, so that if there is any connectivity issue, any other issue, you can watch the session through the YouTube platform. Okay, so please join this WebEx itself. Otherwise, it becomes very difficult for us to monitor the attendance also. It seems that we have selected 100 and it looks as if 60 and 70 participants are there, 60 participants are there, but there are others who are looking at the YouTube. Correct? Next point is we are not able to track the attendance of everyone just because of your names. For example, CR119. I do not know who is CR119. Correct? So in the evening session, at least we want, if your name is like this, like CR119, you please type your name in chat box so that we come to know who are you. Okay, so I have commented, I have given a comment on the chat box that to please rename yourself, but participant has not renamed. So please rename yourself. At least in a chat box, you write the proper name. Okay, I got sir. Bipin Chandrapan sir. Okay, thank you, sir. So now I got it. No. And let me tell you, there are few participants in the list surprisingly joined in this program who are not part of this program. They were part of our VLSI tracks or some other track, and somebody has put up the joining link for them. So they have joined, and I do welcome you. but then if our list exceeds 100, then we will not be able to tell you. I welcome you. You join the evening session also. And whether you are on board or not, I will tell you tomorrow morning. Okay, because if there is anyone who has not joined today, there are few 10, I can see 10-15 people that have not joined today. So I will give you the invitation, proper invitation, and you will be continued tomorrow onwards. Okay.
Thank you very much, sir. Dr. Pandit this side, sir.
हाँ, किसका आवाज था मैंने?
Sir, my name is Dr. Bipin Chand Pant.
Yeah, sir. Yeah, I know. I have interacted with you through emails. Okay, I got it.
Sir, actually, yeah, actually the CR119 already exists in my university also. So I'm changing my name over here. It's not changing. That's I've typed it in morning also, sir.
Not, sir, done. Once we know who is
Yeah.
CR119, our job is done.
Right, sir. You
Now
are
we
always,
know,
you are very particular.
now we know who is CR119. So it is done. No
Yeah.
problem. Okay,
Yeah.
sir.
Thank you very
Yeah,
much, sir.
yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay,
Thank
sir.
you.
Okay.
Sir.
Okay, sir. So we will meet in the evening, and assessment will be on the our what Moodle. We are going to create the Moodle logins. Those who were already having the Moodle logins need not create again. We are going to use the same Moodle login. All PPTs, etc., whatever resource persons gives, I am going to upload it on Moodle. You need not ask me. I will definitely ask them. If they give, we upload it on Moodle. If resource person doesn't give, we don't have it. It's as simple as that. Correct? So it will be entire course material will be available on Moodle. On Moodle, you will have in all the assessments and everything that you have to upload. So for newly joined participants, I'm going to send you how to join to the Moodle after evening session. Not now, after evening session, once we monitor all the registered participants. Okay. So thank you very much and welcome to the course. We will meet in the evening.